Beneath the shifting dunes of some of the world's most unforgiving deserts lie stories that defy time, stories of empires that rose, thrived, and vanished, leaving behind whispers of their existence etched into the very earth. These ancient civilizations didn't just survive in the harshest environments, they flourished, building societies so advanced and enigmatic that their practices still puzzle us today. What secrets did they uncover about life, spirituality, and survival in the barren expanses? And how did their innovations shape the world we live in now? In this journey, we'll peel back the layers of sand and time to uncover the hidden chronicles of desert empires, their rituals, their technologies, and the mysteries they left behind. This isn't just a tale of the past. It's a revelation of how these forgotten worlds continue to echo in our present. Let's step into the sands and discover what lies beneath. The deserts of the world, vast and unyielding, are often seen as places of desolation, barren landscapes where life struggles to take root. Yet, within these seemingly inhospitable regions, some of history's most remarkable civilizations not only survived but thrived. How did these empires rise in places where water was scarce and the sun scorched the earth? The answer lies in their extraordinary ability to adapt, innovate, and harness the very challenges that would have defeated lesser societies. Take, for example, the Nile Valley, where the ancient Egyptians transformed a narrow strip of fertile land surrounded by desert into the cradle of one of the most enduring civilizations in history. The annual flooding of the Nile brought life-giving silt, allowing crops to flourish in an otherwise arid landscape. But it wasn't just luck, it was ingenuity. The Egyptians developed sophisticated irrigation systems, channeling the river's waters to sustain agriculture year-round. Their mastery of the environment was so profound that their society endured for millennia, leaving behind monuments like the pyramids, which still stand as testaments to their skill and vision. Far to the east, on the Arabian Peninsula, another desert empire emerged. The Nabataeans, masters of trade and water conservation, carved their capital, Petra, directly into rose-red cliffs. In a land where rain was rare, they engineered an intricate system of cisterns and channels to capture and store every precious drop. This allowed them to control vital trade routes, connecting the Mediterranean world with the riches of the East. Their ability to thrive in such a harsh environment was nothing short of revolutionary, proving that even the driest deserts could be tamed with creativity and determination. Then there's the Sahara, the largest hot desert on Earth, where the Garamantes people defied the odds. Beneath the endless sands, they tapped into hidden reserves of groundwater, creating an underground network of tunnels known as fagaras. These allowed them to irrigate crops and sustain settlements in the heart of the desert. Their achievements remind us that resilience isn't just about enduring hardship, it's about finding ways to turn adversity into opportunity. What united these desert empires was their ability to see possibility where others saw only impossibility. They didn't merely survive, they redefined what it meant to thrive in challenging environments. Their innovations in agriculture, architecture, and trade laid the foundations for future generations, proving that even the harshest landscapes could become centers of culture and power. But their ingenuity wasn't limited to practical solutions. These civilizations also developed practices and beliefs that were as mysterious as they were profound. From the sacred rituals of the Egyptians to the enigmatic carvings of Petra, the desert empires left behind clues to a world where the spiritual and the practical were deeply intertwined. And it's in these mysteries that we find the true essence of their legacy, a legacy that continues to captivate us today. One of the most captivating mysteries of desert empires lies in the sheer audacity of their architectural achievements. Picture this: vast cities rising from the sands, their monumental structures defying the harsh environment around them. How did these civilizations build sprawling urban centers in places where survival itself seemed like a miracle? The answer lies in their mastery of materials and engineering, combined with a deep understanding of the natural world. Take mud bricks, for instance, a seemingly humble material that became the lifeblood of desert construction. In places like ancient Mesopotamia and Egypt, mud bricks were abundant, durable, and perfectly suited to the climate, but these weren't just simple clay blocks. The process of creating them was an art form, often mixed with straw or other organic materials to increase strength. When baked in the sun or kilns, they transformed into sturdy building blocks that could withstand the test of time. Entire cities, from ziggurats to palaces, were built with this unassuming material, proving that innovation often starts with what's readily available. Stone, too, played a pivotal role, especially in the construction of iconic structures like the pyramids of Egypt or the temples of Petra. These weren't just feats of brute strength, they were demonstrations of precision and planning. The Great Pyramid of Giza, for example, was built with such mathematical accuracy that its alignment with the cardinal points is nearly perfect. Theories suggest that ancient engineers used tools like the Merkit, a device for tracking celestial movements, to achieve this precision. The question remains, how did they transport and lift these massive stones without modern machinery? Some believe they used ramps, sledges, and ingenious pulley systems, while others speculate about lost technologies we've yet to fully understand. But the construction of these cities wasn't just about practicality, it was also deeply symbolic. Many desert cities were laid out with meticulous attention to celestial events. Temples and monuments often aligned with the rising or setting of the sun during solstices or equinoxes, creating dramatic light effects that were likely tied to religious rituals. In Petra, the famous treasury building is positioned so that sunlight illuminates its facade in specific ways during certain times of the year, suggesting a connection to cosmic cycles. These alignments weren't accidental, they were deliberate choices that reflected a world view where the heavens and the earth were inextricably linked. Maintaining these cities was another challenge altogether. Water, the most precious resource in the desert, had to be carefully managed. Aqueducts, reservoirs, and underground channels were common features, ensuring that even in the driest months, life could continue. The Nabataeans, for example, designed Petra's water system with such precision that it could support a population of tens of thousands. This blend of practicality and spirituality is what makes these cities so fascinating. They weren't just places to live, they were expressions of a civilization's identity and beliefs. As we marvel at these architectural wonders, one question lingers: what drove these empires to invest so much effort into building such monumental structures? Was it purely for survival, or was there something more profound at play? The answer may lie in the spiritual significance behind their designs. These weren't just cities, they were sacred spaces, carefully crafted to honor the gods, celebrate the cosmos, and ensure the prosperity of their people. And it's this interplay between the practical and the spiritual that makes the story of desert cities so endlessly compelling. Beneath the vast, star-strewn skies of the desert, ancient civilizations found more than just beauty. They discovered a map to understanding their world. For desert empires, the heavens weren't just a backdrop. They were a guide, a clock, and even a divine messenger. How did these societies, surrounded by endless sands, turned their gaze upward to unlock the secrets of the stars. The answer lies in their profound connection to astronomy, a science that shaped everything from their daily lives to their grandest monuments. The Egyptians, for instance, were masters of celestial observation. Their solar calendar, one of the most accurate of its time, was based on the annual rising of the star Sirius, which coincided with the flooding of the Nile. This event marked the beginning of their agricultural year, ensuring that crops were planted at the optimal time, but their astronomical knowledge went far beyond farming. The Great Pyramid of Giza, for example, is aligned almost perfectly with the 4 cardinal directions, a feat that required precise understanding of the night sky. Some theories suggest they used tools like the Merkhit, a sighting device, to track the movement of stars and align their structures with cosmic precision. The Nabataeans, too, were deeply attuned to the heavens. In Petra, their rose-red city, evidence suggests they used star maps to navigate the desert and time their trade expeditions. The alignment of key structures with celestial events hints at a sophisticated understanding of astronomy. For example, the treasury's facade is positioned to catch the first rays of the rising sun during the winter solstice, a moment that may have held deep spiritual significance. This interplay between the stars and their architecture reveals a civilization that saw the cosmos as both a practical tool and a sacred force. Astronomy wasn't just a science for these empires, it was a bridge between the earthly and the divine. Astrologers and priests held positions of immense power, interpreting the movements of celestial bodies to guide decisions. In Mesopotamia, for instance, the positions of planets and stars were believed to reveal the will of the gods, influencing everything from political strategy to agricultural planning. Kings and rulers consulted astrologers before launching military campaigns or making major policy decisions, believing that the heavens held the key to their success. Even in the Sahara, the Garamantes people used their knowledge of the stars to navigate the vast desert. By tracking the positions of constellations, they could determine the best times for travel and trade, ensuring their survival in one of the harshest environments on Earth. This blend of practicality and spirituality was a hallmark of desert civilizations, who saw the stars not as distant lights but as active participants in their lives. What's perhaps most striking is how these ancient societies wove astronomy into the very fabric of their existence. From the alignment of temples to the timing of rituals, the heavens influenced every aspect of their culture. This wasn't just about predicting the seasons or navigating the desert. It was about understanding their place in the universe. And it's this connection between the stars above and the earth below that reveals the true depth of their wisdom. As we look back at these ancient practices, it's impossible not to wonder, what did they see when they gazed at the night sky? For them, the stars were more than points of light. They were a language, a guide, and a source of profound meaning. And it's this enduring fascination with the cosmos that connects us to these distant civilizations, reminding us that the mysteries of the universe are as timeless as the sands themselves. In the heart of the desert, where the sun blazed relentlessly and the sands seemed endless, ancient civilizations found more than just survival. They found the divine. For desert empires, spirituality wasn't just a part of life, it was the very foundation of their existence. Their rituals and beliefs were as intricate and purposeful as their engineering feats, weaving together the natural world, the heavens, and the unseen forces they believed governed their lives. At the center of these spiritual practices were the deities, powerful beings who controlled everything from the flooding of rivers to the rising of the sun. In ancient Egypt, gods like Ra, the sun god, and Osiris, lord of the afterlife, were not distant figures but active participants in daily life. Temples were built as homes for these deities, and priests performed elaborate ceremonies to honor them. Offerings of food, incense, and precious goods were made daily, ensuring the gods' favor and maintaining cosmic balance. These rituals weren't just acts of devotion, they were vital to the survival and prosperity of the entire community. But the divine wasn't limited to human-like gods. Sacred animals played a crucial role in many desert cultures, seen as earthly manifestations of the divine. The Egyptians revered the falcon as a symbol of Horus, the sky god, while the scarab beetle represented rebirth and transformation. These animals weren't just symbols, they were treated with reverence, often mummified and buried with great ceremony. Even the natural elements wind, water, and fire were imbued with spiritual significance, seen as living forces to be respected and appeased. The rituals themselves were as varied as they were profound. Some were grand public spectacles, like the Opet festival in Thebes, where statues of the gods were paraded through the streets amidst music and dancing. Others were private, intimate acts of devotion, such as the daily offering of bread and beer by ordinary Egyptians to their household gods. These practices weren't just about worship, they reinforced societal structures, uniting communities under shared beliefs and values. In some desert cultures, spirituality took on an even more otherworldly dimension. The use of hallucinogenic plants or trance-like states allowed participants to commune directly with the divine. In Mesopotamia, priests known as Shailu would enter altered states of consciousness to receive messages from the gods. These rituals often involved chanting, drumming, and the burning of aromatic resins, creating an atmosphere that blurred the line between the earthly and the divine. Yet, not all rituals were peaceful or celebratory. The darker side of these practices included sacrifices, both animal and, in some cases, human, meant to appease angry gods or ensure victory in battle. Curses, too, were a common feature, inscribed on tablets or spoken during ceremonies to invoke divine retribution upon enemies. These practices reveal a complex understanding of power, where the spiritual and the political were deeply intertwined. What's striking is how these rituals, whether grand or grim, reflect a worldview where the sacred and the mundane were inseparable. For desert empires, every action, from planting crops to waging war, was infused with spiritual meaning. And it's this profound connection to the divine that continues to captivate us, offering a glimpse into a world where the boundaries between the seen and the unseen were fluid, and the mysteries of existence were constantly unfolding. Among the many mysteries of desert empires, few are as chilling or as fascinating as their belief in the power of curses. These weren't just idle threats or superstitions, they were deeply rooted in a worldview where words and symbols held tangible power. For ancient civilizations like the Egyptians and Mesopotamians, curses were a way to protect what was sacred, punish wrongdoing, and assert control over forces beyond human understanding. Curses were often inscribed on tombs, monuments, or even everyday objects, serving as both warnings and weapons. Take, for instance, the inscriptions found in the tombs of Egyptian pharaohs. These weren't mere decorations, they were potent spells designed to guard the resting places of the dead. One famous example is the curse of Tutankhamun's tomb, which warned that death shall come on swift wings to those who disturb the peace of the king. While modern science attributes the deaths of some archaeologists to bacteria or coincidence, the legend of the curse persists, a testament to the enduring power of these ancient beliefs. But curses weren't just about vengeance or protection, they were also tools of justice. In Mesopotamia, curses were often used in legal contexts, inscribed on boundary stones or contracts to deter theft or dishonesty. Breaking an oath or violating a contract could invoke divine retribution, with curses calling upon the gods to bring misfortune to the wrongdoer. These practices reveal a society where the spiritual and the legal were deeply intertwined, and where the fear of divine punishment acted as a powerful deterrent. At the same time, desert empires also turned to protective magic to safeguard themselves from harm. Amulets and talismans were commonplace, worn by everyone from pharaohs to farmers. These small objects, often inscribed with symbols or spells, were believed to ward off evil spirits, illness, or misfortune. The ankh, symbolizing life, and the eye of Horus, representing protection, were among the most popular. Even children wore amulets, ensuring they were shielded from harm from birth. Spells, too, played a vital role in daily life. Egyptian priests and scribes meticulously recorded incantations on papyrus scrolls, creating what we now know as the Book of the Dead. These spells were designed to guide the deceased safely through the afterlife, protecting them from demons and ensuring their resurrection. But magic wasn't just for the dead, it was also used by the living to heal the sick, bless crops, or even influence the weather. What's striking is how these beliefs shaped burial practices. Tombs weren't just places to lay the dead, they were fortresses of the soul, designed to protect the deceased for eternity. Elaborate rituals, from mummification to the placement of grave goods, were performed to ensure the deceased had everything they needed in the afterlife. Curses acted as the final line of defense, deterring grave robbers and ensuring the sanctity of the tomb. In a world where life was fragile and the unknown loomed large, curses and protective magic offered a sense of control. They were a way to navigate the uncertainties of existence, to assert power over forces both seen and unseen. And while we may no longer believe in the literal power of these spells, their legacy endures, reminding us of the profound ways in which ancient civilizations sought to understand and influence their world. These practices also reveal something deeper, a belief in the interconnectedness of all things. For desert empires, the spiritual and the physical were not separate realms, but part of a single, unified reality. Curses, amulets, and spells were tools to navigate this reality, bridging the gap between the human and the divine, and it's this timeless quest for connection, for meaning in a vast and often unpredictable universe, that continues to resonate with us today. The desert may seem an unlikely place to contemplate eternity, yet for ancient civilizations, it was the perfect setting to prepare for the afterlife. The elaborate burial practices of desert empires weren't just about honoring the dead, they were a profound expression of belief in a world beyond the visible, where the soul's journey continued long after the body's final breath. From the pyramids of Egypt to the rock-cut tombs of Petra, these monumental structures reveal a deep reverence for death, but also a meticulous effort to ensure immortality for the departed. In ancient Egypt, the afterlife was not a distant, abstract concept, it was a vivid reality, meticulously planned for. The construction of tombs like the pyramids of Giza was a monumental undertaking, requiring vast resources and an extraordinary level of engineering skill. These weren't just burial sites, they were gateways to eternity, designed to safeguard the pharaoh's body and soul. The Great Pyramid, for instance, is more than a tomb. It's a cosmic machine, aligned with the stars and filled with intricate passages meant to guide the pharaoh's spirit to the heavens. Every stone, every chamber was imbued with symbolic meaning, reflecting the Egyptians' belief in the cyclical nature of life and death. But the journey to the afterlife didn't end with the tomb's construction. The process of mummification was equally vital, a sacred art that preserved the body for eternity. Organs were carefully removed and stored in canopic jars, while the body was treated with natron, a natural salt, to halt decay. The result was a preserved form, ready to house the soul in the next world. Funerary rituals, too, were elaborate affairs involving priests, mourners, and offerings of food, drink, and precious goods. These ceremonies weren't just about saying goodbye, they were about ensuring the deceased had everything they needed for their eternal journey. In Petra, the Nabataeans took a different approach, carving their tombs directly into the rose-red cliffs. These rock-cut structures, like the iconic treasury, were both practical and symbolic. The Nabataeans believed that the dead required protection and sustenance in the afterlife, so their tombs were filled with treasures and provisions. But they also served as a testament to the wealth and power of the deceased, ensuring their legacy endured in the physical world as well. The intricate facades, adorned with carvings and inscriptions, were not just decorative. They were messages to the gods, asking for favor and protection in the afterlife. Even in the Sahara, the Garamantes built elaborate underground tombs, often adorned with frescoes depicting scenes of daily life. These artworks weren't mere decorations, they were a way to ensure the deceased remained connected to the world they left behind. The Garamantes believed that the dead could influence the living, so their tombs were places of ongoing reverence and ritual. What unites these burial practices is their profound connection to the belief in an afterlife, a belief so strong that it shaped entire societies. The effort and resources poured into these tombs reflect a conviction that death was not an end, but a transition. And it's this belief that gives us a glimpse into the hearts and minds of these ancient civilizations, revealing a world where the boundaries between life and death were fluid, and where the legacy of the dead was as important as the lives of the living. As we marvel at these tombs and their treasures, it's worth considering how these practices connected desert empires across vast distances. Trade routes, often overlooked in discussions of burial customs, played a crucial role in spreading ideas and materials. Precious stones, metals, and even embalming techniques traveled along these networks, linking cultures and shaping their shared understanding of death and the afterlife. It's a reminder that even in the most remote deserts, no civilization existed in isolation. Each was part of a larger, interconnected world. Stretching across the arid landscapes of the ancient world were the lifelines of desert empires, trade routes that wove together distant lands, cultures, and economies. These networks weren't just paths for commerce, they were the arteries of civilization, pumping wealth, ideas, and innovation across vast distances. How did these empires, separated by endless sands and scorching heat, manage to connect so seamlessly? The answer lies in their mastery of trade, a skill that transformed the harsh desert into a dynamic crossroads of the ancient world. At the heart of these networks were the goods that traveled along them. Spices from the east, gold from the mines of Nubia, and incense from the Arabian Peninsula were among the most prized commodities. Frankincense and myrrh, in particular, were in high demand across the Mediterranean and beyond, used in religious rituals, medicine, and even embalming. These fragrant resins were so valuable that they were often worth their weight in gold. But it wasn't just luxury items that moved along these routes. Everyday goods like textiles, pottery, and foodstuffs also played a crucial role, sustaining communities and fostering economic interdependence. Navigating these trade routes, however, was no simple feat. The desert was a formidable adversary, with its shifting dunes, extreme temperatures, and scarcity of water. To overcome these challenges, ancient traders relied on caravans, large groups of merchants, and their pack animals, most notably camels. Known as the ships of the desert, camels were uniquely suited to the harsh conditions. Their ability to travel long distances without water made them indispensable, while their padded feet allowed them to move effortlessly across the sand. These caravans became the backbone of desert trade, carrying goods and knowledge across seemingly impassable terrain. Oasis cities played a pivotal role in this network, serving as both rest stops and bustling hubs of commerce and culture. Places like Palmyra in modern-day Syria and Siwa in Egypt were more than just watering holes. They were thriving centers where goods were traded, ideas were exchanged, and cultures intermingled. These cities became melting pots of languages, religions, and traditions, creating a rich tapestry of human experience. The wealth generated by trade allowed oasis cities to flourish, funding the construction of grand temples, markets, and public buildings that still stand as testaments to their prosperity. But trade routes weren't just about the exchange of goods, they were also conduits for knowledge. Alongside spices and gold, ideas and technologies traveled from one civilization to another. Innovations in agriculture, astronomy, and even writing systems were shared and adapted, driving progress across the ancient world. The Silk Road, for instance, connected the Mediterranean with China, facilitating the spread of everything from papermaking to new religious beliefs. These exchanges remind us that trade was about more than economics. It was a catalyst for cultural and intellectual growth. As we trace the paths of these ancient routes, one question lingers: what hidden wisdom was exchanged along these dusty trails? Beyond the tangible goods, what intangible treasures, stories, philosophies, and discoveries were passed from hand to hand, shaping the course of history? The answer lies in the enduring legacy of these trade networks, which not only connected empires, but also laid the foundation for the globalized world we live in today. The story of desert trade routes is a testament to human ingenuity and resilience. It's a reminder that even in the most challenging environments, people found ways to connect, thrive, and create something greater than themselves. And as we uncover the secrets of these ancient pathways, we gain not just a glimpse into the past, but a deeper understanding of the forces that continue to shape our world. Amid the bustling trade routes and the clash of empires, something even more profound than goods was exchanged knowledge. Desert civilizations weren't just trading spices, gold, or textiles. They were sharing ideas, technologies, and systems of thought that would shape the course of human history. This exchange of knowledge was as vital as any caravan, weaving together the intellectual fabric of the ancient world and leaving a legacy that still influences us today. One of the most significant contributions of desert empires was the spread of writing systems. Cuneiform, developed in Mesopotamia, was one of the earliest forms of written communication, used to record everything from trade transactions to epic poetry. Over time, this system influenced other cultures, evolving into scripts like Phoenician, which later gave rise to the Greek and Latin alphabets. Similarly, Egyptian hieroglyphs, with their intricate symbols, weren't just a way to record history. They were a tool for preserving religious texts, medical knowledge, and administrative records. These writing systems became the backbone of governance, trade, and culture, enabling civilizations to document and share their discoveries across generations. Mathematics, too, was a cornerstone of this intellectual exchange. The Babylonians, for instance, developed a sophisticated number system based on the number 60, which is why we still divide hours into 60 minutes and circles into 360 degrees. Their advancements in geometry and algebra laid the groundwork for later mathematical breakthroughs. Meanwhile, the Egyptians used their mathematical prowess to design and construct monumental architecture, like the pyramids, with astonishing precision. These concepts didn't stay confined to their places of origin. They traveled along trade routes, influencing neighboring cultures and sparking new innovations. Engineering techniques were another area where desert empires excelled and shared their expertise. The Nabataeans' mastery of water management, for example, was revolutionary, allowing them to thrive in the arid landscapes of Petra. Their techniques for capturing and storing water were adopted and adapted by other civilizations, demonstrating how practical knowledge could spread and evolve. Similarly, the Egyptians' expertise in stone cutting and monument construction influenced architectural styles across the Mediterranean, from the temples of Greece to the forums of Rome. At the heart of this intellectual exchange were scholars and libraries, the great repositories of ancient knowledge. The Library of Alexandria, perhaps the most famous of these institutions, was a beacon of learning in the ancient world. It housed hundreds of thousands of scrolls, containing works on science, philosophy, medicine, and literature. Scholars from across the Mediterranean and beyond traveled to Alexandria to study, debate, and contribute to this vast collection. The library wasn't just a place to store books, it was a hub of intellectual activity, where ideas from different cultures intersected and new discoveries were born. This exchange of knowledge didn't just benefit the empires that created it, it also enriched neighboring civilizations. The Greeks, for example, drew heavily on the mathematical and astronomical knowledge of the Babylonians and Egyptians, building on their foundations to make their own groundbreaking discoveries. Similarly, the Romans adopted and adapted engineering techniques from the Nabataeans and others, using them to build their vast network of roads, aqueducts, and cities. But the story of knowledge exchange isn't just about grand libraries or monumental achievements. It's also about the people who carried these ideas across deserts and seas. Traders, scholars, and even ordinary travelers played a role in spreading knowledge, often in ways that were subtle but profound. A merchant might bring not only spices, but also a new way of calculating interest on a loan. A traveler might share a story that introduced a new philosophical concept. These small, everyday exchanges were the threads that wove together the intellectual tapestry of the ancient world. As we explore this rich history of knowledge exchange, it's impossible to overlook the role of women in these societies. From scholars and scribes to rulers and artisans, women were not just passive recipients of knowledge. They were active participants, shaping the intellectual and cultural landscapes of their time. Their contributions, often overlooked in traditional histories, remind us that the story of desert empires is as much about the people as it is about the monuments they left behind. While the monumental achievements of desert empires often take center stage, there's a hidden thread woven into their history, one that's just as vital but far less celebrated. Women in these ancient societies were far more than passive figures in the shadows of history. They were leaders, innovators, and cultural trailblazers whose contributions shaped the very fabric of their civilizations. From the courts of Egypt to the trading hubs of the Arabian Peninsula, women played pivotal roles in politics, religion, and art, leaving a legacy that challenges our modern assumptions about gender and power in the ancient world. Take, for example, Queen Hatshepsut of Egypt, one of history's most remarkable female rulers. Rising to power in the 15th century BCE, Hatshepsut didn't just reign, she transformed her kingdom. She commissioned ambitious building projects, including her iconic mortuary temple at Deir el-Bahri, a masterpiece of ancient architecture that still stands as a testament to her vision. But her reign wasn't without controversy. To legitimize her rule, she adopted the trappings of a male pharaoh, even donning the traditional false beard and kilt. Her story is a fascinating glimpse into how women navigated and reshaped the expectations of their time. Far to the east, in the oasis city of Palmyra, another powerful woman made her mark. Queen Zenobia, a warrior and stateswoman, led her people in a bold rebellion against the Roman Empire in the 3rd century CE. Her ambition was nothing short of extraordinary. She sought to establish an independent empire that rivaled Rome itself. Though her rebellion ultimately failed, her courage and strategic brilliance left an indelible mark on history. Zenobia wasn't just a ruler, she was a symbol of resistance and resilience, embodying the spirit of her people. But the influence of women extended far beyond the throne. In Mesopotamia, priestesses held significant power, serving as intermediaries between the gods and humanity. These women were not just religious figures, they were also landowners, businesswomen, and educators, managing vast estates and overseeing the education of young scribes. Their roles demonstrate how spirituality and authority were often intertwined, offering women unique opportunities to shape their societies. Even in the realm of art and craftsmanship, women left their mark. In ancient Egypt, female artisans were highly skilled in weaving, pottery, and jewelry making, creating works of stunning beauty and technical precision. These objects weren't just decorative, they carried deep cultural and religious significance, often used in rituals or as offerings to the gods. The intricate beadwork and textiles produced by these women reveal a level of artistry that speaks to their creativity and expertise. Yet for all their achievements, the lives of women in desert empires were also shaped by societal norms and expectations. Marriage and motherhood were central to their identities, and their roles were often defined by their relationships to men. But even within these constraints, women found ways to assert their influence. From managing households to advising rulers, they played critical roles in the daily functioning of their societies. The legacy of these women is a reminder that history is rarely as straightforward as it seems. Behind every great empire were countless individuals, many of them women, whose contributions were just as vital as those of kings and warriors. Their stories challenge us to look beyond the surface, to uncover the hidden figures who shaped the world in ways both profound and enduring. As we reflect on their lives, it's worth considering how their artistic expressions, whether in the form of temple reliefs, pottery, or textiles, reveal not just their skill, but also their worldview. These creations were more than objects. They were a language, a way of communicating ideas, beliefs, and emotions. And it's through this lens that we can begin to understand the full richness of desert civilizations, not just as builders of monuments, but as creators of culture. The art of desert civilizations is more than just a visual feast, it's a window into their souls. Across the sands of time, these empires carved, painted, and sculpted their stories into stone, clay, and plaster, creating works that still speak to us today. But their art wasn't merely decorative. It was a language, rich with symbolism and meaning, designed to communicate power, spirituality, and identity in ways that words alone could not. Take, for instance, the intricate carvings of Petra. The rock-cut facades of this ancient city are adorned with elaborate designs, from floral motifs to geometric patterns. But look closer, and you'll see something more profound. The figures of gods, mythical creatures, and even the Nabataean rulers themselves are etched into the stone, each one telling a story. These carvings weren't just art, they were declarations of divine favor and political authority. The famous treasury, with its towering columns and ornate friezes, was as much a statement of power as it was a sacred space. In Egypt, the walls of temples and tombs were covered in vibrant murals that depicted everything from daily life to the journey of the soul in the afterlife. These paintings weren't random scenes, they were carefully composed to convey specific messages. Gods like Horus and Anubis were shown in their full glory, symbolizing protection and guidance. Pharaohs were often depicted in larger-than-life proportions, emphasizing their divine status. Even the colors used had meaning. Blue represented the heavens, green symbolized rebirth, and gold stood for eternity. These murals weren't just art, they were visual prayers designed to ensure the favor of the gods and the continuity of the cosmic order. But art wasn't limited to grand monuments. Even everyday objects were imbued with meaning. Pottery, jewelry, and textiles often featured symbols that reflected the values and beliefs of their creators. In Mesopotamia, cylinder seals, small, intricately carved stones, were used to stamp images onto clay tablets. These images often depicted gods, animals, or scenes of daily life, serving both as personal signatures and as talismans of protection. The techniques used to create these works were as varied as the art itself. Frescoes, created by painting on wet plaster, allowed for vibrant, long-lasting colors. Stone reliefs, carved directly into rock, provided a durable medium for storytelling. And in the Sahara, the Garamantes used pigments made from minerals and plants to create vivid cave paintings that depicted everything from hunting scenes to celestial events. What's fascinating is how these artistic traditions were passed down through generations, evolving but never losing their core purpose. Art was a way to preserve memory, to honor the divine, and to assert identity in a world that was often harsh and unpredictable. It connected people to their gods, their rulers, and to each other, creating a shared cultural language that transcended time and place. As we marvel at these artistic achievements, it's worth considering how they were preserved. The dry desert air, often seen as a challenge, actually helped protect many of these works from decay. But it wasn't just the environment that safeguarded their legacy, it was also the written word. Inscriptions, often accompanying the art, provided context and meaning, ensuring that the stories behind the symbols would not be lost. This interplay between art and language is where we find one of the most enduring legacies of desert civilizations. Their ability to combine visual and written expression created a rich tapestry of culture that continues to inspire us today. And as we turn our attention to the role of language in preserving their history, we'll see how these two forms of communication, art and writing, work together to create a legacy that has stood the test of time. The sands of the desert have preserved not only the stones and bones of ancient empires, but also their voices etched into clay tablets, carved into temple walls, and scribbled onto fragile papyrus. These ancient scripts are more than just words, they are time capsules holding the stories, beliefs, and laws of civilizations long gone. Yet, for all their preservation, many of these languages remain a mystery, their meanings locked away in symbols we struggle to decipher. What secrets do these lost languages hold, and what can they tell us about the people who spoke them? One of the most famous breakthroughs in understanding ancient scripts came with the discovery of the Rosetta Stone in 1799. This unassuming slab of black basalt, inscribed with the same text in 3 languages, Greek, Demotic, and hieroglyphs, became the key to unlocking the mysteries of ancient Egypt. For centuries, hieroglyphs had baffled scholars, their intricate symbols seeming more like art than language, but the Rosetta Stone provided the missing link, allowing linguists to decode the symbols and finally hear the voices of the pharaohs. It was a monumental moment, not just for Egyptology, but for our understanding of human history. Yet, not all ancient languages have been so cooperative. The Nabataean script, used by the people of Petra, is a perfect example. While we can read their inscriptions, much of their literature and daily records remain lost to time. Their language, a variant of Aramaic, was written in a flowing, cursive script that adorned everything from tombstones to water channels. These inscriptions offer glimpses into their world, declarations of loyalty to kings, prayers to gods, even warnings to trespassers. But without more extensive texts, much of their story remains untold. Then there are scripts like Linear A, used by the Minoans of Crete, which still defy translation. Found on clay tablets and seal stones, this script is a tantalizing puzzle, its symbols offering no clear connection to known languages. Scholars have spent decades trying to crack its code, but without a Rosetta Stone equivalent, it remains one of history's great enigmas. These undeciphered scripts are more than just linguistic challenges, they are windows into lost worlds, waiting for someone to unlock their secrets. Language wasn't just a tool for communication in these empires, it was a way to record their most important ideas. In Mesopotamia, cuneiform tablets documented everything from epic poems like the Epic of Gilgamesh to mundane shopping lists. These texts reveal a society deeply concerned with law, commerce, and the divine. The Code of Hammurabi, one of the earliest known legal codes, was inscribed on a massive stone stele, ensuring that justice was both seen and understood by all. Religious texts, too, were meticulously recorded, often in multiple languages to ensure their preservation. In Egypt, the Book of the Dead was written on papyrus scrolls and tomb walls, guiding the deceased through the afterlife. These texts weren't just instructions, they were acts of devotion, meant to secure the favor of the gods and ensure eternal life. But as these empires flourished, so too did the challenges that would eventually lead to their decline. The very trade routes and cultural exchanges that spread their languages and ideas also brought conflict, competition, and conquest. Over time, the scripts that once recorded their triumphs began to fade, their meanings lost as new powers rose to take their place. What's remarkable is how much we've managed to recover and how much still eludes us. Every deciphered text is a victory, revealing new insights into the lives of these ancient people. Yet, the mysteries that remain remind us of the fragility of human memory and the importance of preserving the voices of the past. As we continue to uncover and interpret these lost languages, we not only piece together the stories of desert empires, but also gain a deeper understanding of the threads that connect us all across time. As mighty as these desert empires once were, even the grandest civilizations are not immune to the passage of time. The decline and fall of these ancient societies is a story as complex as it is tragic, shaped by a web of environmental, political, and social factors. For centuries, they flourished, their cities bustling with life and innovation. But slowly, the sands began to reclaim what they had once surrendered, leaving behind only whispers of their former glory. What led to the collapse of these once thriving empires, and what lessons can we draw from their downfall? One of the most significant factors was environmental change. The very landscapes that these empires mastered could also turn against them. Prolonged droughts, shifting weather patterns, and the depletion of natural resources placed immense strain on their societies. In ancient Mesopotamia, for instance, the once fertile lands between the Tigris and Euphrates rivers began to suffer from soil salinization, a result of centuries of intensive irrigation. Crops failed and famine followed, weakening the foundations of their civilization. Similarly, the Garamantes of the Sahara saw their underground water reserves, those life-sustaining fagaras, dry up over time, forcing them to abandon their cities and retreat to smaller settlements. But environmental challenges were only part of the story. Political instability and external pressures also played a critical role. The Nabataeans, for example, faced increasing threats from the expanding Roman Empire. Despite their ingenuity in trade and water management, they could not withstand the military might of Rome, which sought to control the lucrative trade routes they once dominated. Over time, Petra, their magnificent capital, faded into obscurity, its grand buildings swallowed by the desert sands. Similarly, the once powerful Egyptian empire faced invasions and internal strife, its unity fractured by competing factions and foreign powers. Overpopulation and the strain it placed on resources further exacerbated these challenges. As cities grew, so did the demand for food, water, and infrastructure. The delicate balance that once allowed these empires to thrive became increasingly difficult to maintain. In some cases, the very innovations that had sustained them, like intricate irrigation systems, became unsustainable, leading to resource depletion and ecological damage. Yet, the collapse of these empires wasn't always sudden or dramatic. In many cases, it was a slow, gradual process, marked by a series of setbacks rather than a single catastrophic event. Cities were abandoned, trade routes shifted, and populations dispersed. Over time, the once bustling urban centers were reclaimed by the desert, their stories buried beneath layers of sand and time. Despite their decline, the legacy of these empires endures, offering valuable lessons for our modern world. Their ability to adapt and innovate in the face of adversity is a testament to human resilience, but their downfall also serves as a cautionary tale. It reminds us of the fragility of even the most advanced societies and the importance of sustainable practices in the face of environmental and social challenges. Today, archaeologists and historians are working tirelessly to uncover the secrets of these lost civilizations. Through excavations, satellite imaging, and advanced technologies, they are piecing together the stories of these forgotten empires, shedding light on both their triumphs and their failures. These efforts not only deepen our understanding of the past, but also provide insights that could help us navigate the challenges of the future. As we continue to explore the mysteries of desert empires, we are reminded that history is not just a record of what has been, it is also a guide for what could be. The rise and fall of these civilizations teach us about the delicate balance between human ambition and the natural world, and the enduring power of innovation and resilience. And as we uncover their secrets, we find not just the echoes of the past, but the seeds of wisdom for generations to come. The deserts that once cradled ancient empires have long kept their secrets buried beneath layers of sand and time. But today, modern archaeology is peeling back these layers, revealing lost cities, forgotten rituals, and groundbreaking innovations that are reshaping our understanding of these remarkable civilizations. Armed with cutting-edge technology and a relentless curiosity, archaeologists are uncovering the hidden chronicles of desert empires, bringing their stories back to life in ways that would have been unimaginable just a few decades ago. One of the most transformative tools in this quest is satellite imaging. From hundreds of miles above the Earth, satellites capture detailed images of the desert's surface, revealing patterns and anomalies invisible to the naked eye. These images have led to the discovery of ancient trade routes, buried settlements, and even entire cities that were once thought lost. For example, in the Sahara, satellite technology has uncovered the remains of the Garamantes' vast network of underground tunnels, shedding new light on their sophisticated water management systems. These discoveries not only rewrite history, but also show how interconnected these empires were, even across vast distances. On the ground, archaeologists are using tools like ground-penetrating radar to peer beneath the surface without disturbing the delicate remains. This non-invasive technique allows researchers to map buried structures, from tombs to entire urban layouts, with incredible precision. In Petra, ground-penetrating radar has revealed hidden chambers and tunnels beneath the iconic treasury building, suggesting that the Nabataeans' architectural genius extended far beyond what we see today. These findings are like pieces of a puzzle, slowly coming together to form a more complete picture of these ancient societies. But it's not just technology driving these discoveries. It's also the dedication of archaeologists who brave harsh conditions to uncover the past. From the scorching heat of the Arabian desert to the shifting sands of the Sahara, these researchers are piecing together the stories of people who lived thousands of years ago. Recent excavations in Egypt, for instance, have uncovered a previously unknown necropolis filled with tombs, mummies, and artifacts that offer new insights into daily life and burial practices. These finds remind us that history isn't just about kings and warriors. It's also about the ordinary people who built and sustained these civilizations. Yet, as archaeologists work to uncover these treasures, they face significant challenges. Looting remains a persistent threat, with ancient sites often stripped of their artifacts before they can be properly studied. Climate change, too, poses a growing danger, as rising temperatures and shifting weather patterns accelerate the erosion of fragile ruins. In some cases, entire sites are at risk of being lost forever, a stark reminder of the urgency of preservation efforts. Despite these challenges, the work of modern archaeology offers hope. By combining traditional excavation methods with advanced technology, researchers are not only uncovering the past, but also finding ways to protect it for future generations. These efforts are more than just academic, they're a way of honoring the legacy of the people who once thrived in these deserts. As we uncover the physical remnants of these empires, we also begin to understand their cultural legacy. The art, architecture, and innovations of desert civilizations have influenced countless generations, shaping the world we live in today. From the mathematical principles developed in Mesopotamia to the architectural techniques perfected in Egypt, their contributions are woven into the fabric of human history. But perhaps the most profound legacy of these empires is their resilience. In the face of unimaginable challenges, they found ways to adapt, innovate, and thrive. Their stories remind us that even in the harshest environments, human ingenuity can create something extraordinary. And as we continue to explore their hidden chronicles, we are not just uncovering the past, we are rediscovering the timeless lessons they left behind. The legacy of desert empires is not confined to the sands of history. It lives on in the very fabric of our modern world. From the towering skyscrapers that dominate our cities to the stories we tell in books and films, the traditions and innovations of these ancient civilizations continue to shape our culture in profound ways. Their art, architecture, and scientific achievements have left an indelible mark, inspiring generations long after their cities fell silent. But what exactly did these empires contribute, and why do their stories still captivate us today? Let's start with architecture. The monumental structures of desert civilizations, like the pyramids of Egypt and the rock-cut temples of Petra, have become icons of human ingenuity. Their influence can be seen in modern designs, from the use of grand, symmetrical forms to the integration of natural elements into building plans. Architects today still draw inspiration from the way these ancient builders harnessed light, space, and materials to create structures that were both functional and awe-inspiring. The Great Pyramid of Giza, for instance, has influenced everything from Art Deco skyscrapers to futuristic designs, proving that the principles of ancient architecture are timeless. Their contributions to science and mathematics are equally transformative. The Babylonians, for example, developed a base 60 number system that still shapes how we measure time and angles. The Egyptians' advancements in geometry and engineering laid the groundwork for modern construction techniques. Even the Nabataeans' mastery of water conservation offers lessons for today's engineers grappling with climate change and resource scarcity. These ancient innovations remind us that the pursuit of knowledge is a thread connecting humanity across millennia, but it's not just in the tangible world that these empires have left their mark. Their spiritual practices and mythologies have influenced religions and philosophies that continue to shape our understanding of the divine. The Egyptian concept of the afterlife, for instance, has echoes in many modern belief systems, while Mesopotamian myths about creation and the flood have parallels in religious texts around the world. These stories, born in the deserts of antiquity, still resonate with us, offering insights into the human condition and our quest for meaning. In literature and popular culture, the allure of desert empires is undeniable. From epic tales like the Arabian Nights to blockbuster films like Indiana Jones and The Mummy, these ancient civilizations have provided a rich tapestry of inspiration. Their enigmatic practices, from mummification to curses, have become staples of adventure stories, captivating audiences with a blend of history and mystery. Even modern fantasy worlds, like those in Dune or Star Wars, draw on the imagery and themes of desert cultures, from their harsh landscapes to their intricate social structures. The enduring fascination with these societies isn't just about their achievements, it's also about the myths and legends that surround them. The curse of Tutankhamun's tomb, for example, has become a cultural touchstone, blending history with superstition in a way that continues to intrigue us. Stories of lost cities, hidden treasures, and ancient prophecies tap into our deepest desires for discovery and adventure, keeping the legacy of desert empires alive in our collective imagination. As we explore these myths, we begin to see how they reflect the values and fears of the societies that created them. The Egyptian belief in the power of curses, for instance, reveals a deep respect for the sanctity of the dead and the boundaries between life and death. Similarly, the Nabataeans' reverence for their gods and the natural world speaks to a world where the spiritual and the practical were inseparable. These legends aren't just stories, they're windows into the minds of the people who told them. What's perhaps most remarkable is how these myths and legends have evolved over time, adapting to new contexts while retaining their core themes. They remind us that the stories we tell about the past are as much about who we are today as they are about the people who came before us. And as we continue to uncover the secrets of desert empires, we're not just learning about history, we're rediscovering a part of ourselves. The cultural legacy of these ancient civilizations is a testament to the enduring power of human creativity and resilience. Their innovations continue to shape our world, while their stories inspire us to explore, imagine, and create. And as we delve deeper into their mysteries, we're reminded that the sands of time may bury the past, but they can never erase its impact on the present. The myths and legends surrounding desert empires are as vast and enigmatic as the sands themselves. These stories, passed down through generations, are more than just tales. They are windows into the beliefs, fears, and aspirations of the people who created them. From lost cities shrouded in mystery to cursed treasures that defy explanation, the folklore of desert civilizations has captivated imaginations for centuries, blurring the line between history and myth. One of the most enduring legends is that of the lost city of Ubar, often referred to as the Atlantis of the Sands. Said to be a wealthy trading hub hidden in the deserts of Arabia, Ubar was believed to have been swallowed by the sands as punishment for the hubris of its people. For centuries, the city was thought to be pure fiction, until modern archaeologists uncovered evidence of a once thriving settlement buried beneath the dunes. This discovery not only validated parts of the legend, but also showed how myths often contain kernels of truth, preserving memories of real places and events long after they vanish from the historical record. Then there are the tales of cursed treasures, like the infamous curse of Tutankhamun's tomb. When British archaeologist Howard Carter opened the pharaoh's burial chamber in 1922, the world was captivated, not just by the treasure, but by the stories of misfortune that followed. From mysterious illnesses to untimely deaths, the so-called Curse of the Pharaohs became a cultural phenomenon, blending historical fact with supernatural intrigue. While many of these incidents can be explained by coincidence or natural causes, the legend endures, a testament to the power of storytelling to transform the past into something larger than life. Divine interventions also feature prominently in the myths of desert empires. The ancient Egyptians, for instance, believed that their gods played an active role in their lives, from ensuring the annual flooding of the Nile to guiding the souls of the dead through the afterlife. These stories weren't just religious teachings, they were a way of explaining the world and humanity's place within it. Similarly, the Nabataeans told tales of their gods shaping the landscape, carving the cliffs of Petra as a sign of their favor. These myths serve to reinforce the divine authority of rulers and the sacredness of their cities, weaving the spiritual into the fabric of everyday life. What's fascinating is how these stories have evolved over time, adapting to new cultures and contexts while retaining their core themes. The legend of the Queen of Sheba, for example, appears in the traditions of Ethiopia, Yemen, and beyond, each version reflecting the values and histories of the people who tell it. These narratives aren't static, they're living traditions, constantly reshaped by the societies that keep them alive. At the heart of these myths is a blend of fact and fiction, where historical events are embellished with supernatural elements to create stories that resonate deeply with their audiences. They remind us that history isn't just about dates and facts, it's about the human experiences that give those facts meaning. And as we explore these legends, we begin to see how they've shaped our perception of desert empires, turning them into places of wonder, danger, and mystery. But while myths and legends capture the imagination, they also point to something more tangible, the natural resources that made these civilizations possible. The same deserts that inspired tales of lost cities and divine interventions were also home to the very real treasures that fueled their rise: gold, incense, and most importantly, water. It's to these lifelines of the desert empires that we now turn, exploring how their mastery of natural resources allowed them to thrive in the harshest of environments. The deserts that once seemed barren and lifeless were, in reality, treasure troves of natural resources, if one knew how to harness them. For ancient desert empires, survival wasn't just about enduring the harsh environment, it was about mastering it. Water, the most precious resource, was the lifeblood of these civilizations, But it wasn't the only key to their success. Minerals, plants, and even the very soil beneath their feet were carefully managed and transformed into tools of survival and prosperity. How did these societies turn scarcity into abundance, and what can their innovations teach us about resilience in the face of adversity? Water, of course, was the cornerstone. In the desert, where rain was rare and unpredictable, finding and conserving water became an art form. The Nabataeans, for instance, engineered an intricate system of cisterns and channels to capture every drop of rainfall, storing it for times of drought. But their most remarkable achievement was their ability to redirect water from distant sources, creating an oasis in the heart of the desert. Similarly, the Persians developed qanats, underground tunnels that tapped into groundwater and transported it across vast distances. These systems weren't just feats of engineering, they were lifelines, allowing cities to flourish where none should have existed. Beyond water, desert empires turned to the earth itself for sustenance. Minerals like gold, copper, and turquoise were mined and traded, becoming sources of wealth and power. The Egyptians, for example, extracted gold from the deserts of Nubia, using it to fund their monumental building projects and trade with neighboring cultures. But it wasn't just about wealth. These minerals were also symbols of divine favor, used in religious artifacts and royal regalia. Plants, too, played a vital role. In the arid landscapes of the Arabian Peninsula, frankincense and myrrh trees became economic powerhouses. These aromatic resins were highly prized across the ancient world, used in religious rituals, medicine, and even embalming. The trade of these goods not only brought wealth, but also connected desert empires to a global network of exchange, spreading ideas and innovations far beyond their borders. Yet, perhaps the most ingenious use of natural resources was in agriculture. Desert civilizations developed techniques like terraced farming, which allowed them to cultivate steep slopes and maximize arable land. In Mesopotamia, farmers used irrigation to transform the floodplains of the Tigris and Euphrates rivers into fertile fields, while the Garamantes of the Sahara tapped into underground aquifers to grow crops in the heart of the desert. These methods weren't just about survival, they were about creating abundance in the most unlikely of places. The management of these resources wasn't just a matter of practicality, it was a matter of power. Control over water, minerals, and trade routes often determined the rise and fall of empires. Conflicts over these resources were common, as neighboring societies vied for access to the life-giving waters or the wealth buried beneath the sands. These struggles remind us that even in the harshest environments, human ambition and ingenuity can create both prosperity and tension. As we look back at the innovations of desert empires, it's impossible not to see parallels in our modern world. The challenges they faced, scarce water, fragile ecosystems, and the need for sustainable practices, are ones we still grapple with today. Their solutions, from qanats to terraced farming, offer timeless lessons in resourcefulness and resilience. But the story of natural resources in desert civilizations isn't just about survival, it's about transformation. These societies didn't just adapt to their environment, they reshaped it, turning barren landscapes into thriving centers of culture and commerce. And as we continue to explore their hidden chronicles, we're reminded that even in the face of overwhelming odds, human creativity and determination can create something extraordinary. The mastery of natural resources was a defining feature of desert empires, but it also sowed the seeds of conflict. As we delve deeper into their history, we'll see how these tensions shaped their destiny, leading to both collaboration and competition in the relentless pursuit of survival and power. The deserts may seem like vast, empty spaces, but for ancient empires, they were arenas of intense political drama where rivalries flared, alliances were forged, and the fate of civilizations hung in the balance. The dynamics between these desert societies were as complex as the shifting sands themselves, shaped by a mix of ambition, necessity, and survival. From territorial disputes to the struggle for control over precious resources, the political landscape of desert empires was anything but static. But how did these tensions play out, and what lessons can we learn from their conflicts and alliances? Conflict was often sparked by the very thing that made these empires thrive, their mastery of scarce resources. Water, in particular, was a source of both life and strife. In Mesopotamia, the fertile lands between the Tigris and Euphrates rivers were a constant battleground, with city-states vying for control over the life-giving waters. The same was true in the Arabian Peninsula, where oases became prized territories, fought over by tribes and kingdoms alike. These disputes weren't just about survival, they were about power, with control over resources translating directly into influence and wealth. But it wasn't all war and conquest. Diplomacy played a crucial role in maintaining peace and stability. Trade agreements, for instance, were often used to ease tensions and foster cooperation. The Nabataeans, masters of commerce, used their position as intermediaries between the Mediterranean and the East to broker deals that benefited all parties. By offering safe passage and fair terms, they turned potential rivals into allies, ensuring the flow of goods and peace across their trade routes. Alliances, too, were a common strategy for survival. In Egypt, pharaohs often formed marriages with foreign princesses to solidify political ties and secure their borders. These unions weren't just symbolic, they were practical arrangements that helped prevent conflict and strengthen mutual interests. Similarly, the Garamantes of the Sahara formed coalitions with neighboring tribes, pooling resources and knowledge to overcome the challenges of their harsh environment. Of course, not all conflicts could be resolved through diplomacy. Some battles became legendary, shaping the course of history. The clash between the Egyptian and Hittite empires at the Battle of Kadesh, for example, is one of the earliest recorded military confrontations. Though the outcome was inconclusive, it led to one of history's first known peace treaties, a testament to the power of negotiation even in the face of war. These political dynamics weren't just about power struggles, they were also deeply intertwined with culture and identity. The symbols of kingship, the rituals of diplomacy, and even the language of treaties all reflected the values and beliefs of the societies that created them. In Mesopotamia, for instance, treaties were often sealed with oaths sworn in the names of the gods, making them as much religious documents as political ones. As we explore the conflicts and alliances of desert empires, it's impossible to ignore the role of religion in their governance. For these civilizations, the divine and the political were inseparable. Kings were often seen as chosen by the gods, their authority rooted in spiritual as much as earthly power. Temples were not just places of worship, but centers of administration, with priests playing key roles in both religious and political affairs. This blending of the sacred and the secular shaped every aspect of life in desert empires, from the way they waged war to the way they forged peace. And as we turn our attention to the role of religion in their governance, we'll see how these ancient societies used faith not just to explain the world, but to shape it. Their story is a reminder that even in the most arid landscapes, human ambition and belief can create something extraordinary. For desert empires, religion wasn't just a matter of personal belief. It was the foundation of their political systems. Rulers were often seen as more than mere mortals. They were divine figures or chosen intermediaries, tasked with maintaining the favor of the gods and ensuring the prosperity of their people. This fusion of religion and politics created a powerful framework for governance, where spiritual authority and earthly power were inseparable. But how exactly did this dynamic shape the way these empires were ruled, and what impact did it have on their societies? In ancient Egypt, the pharaoh was considered a living god, the embodiment of Horus on earth. His role wasn't just to lead, it was to maintain Mat, the cosmic order that balanced chaos and harmony. Every decision, from building temples to waging war, was framed as an act of divine will. The construction of massive monuments like the pyramids wasn't just about showcasing power, it was about fulfilling a sacred duty, ensuring the pharaoh's journey to the afterlife and the continued favor of the gods. This belief system gave rulers unparalleled authority, but it also came with immense responsibility. Failure to uphold Mat could bring disaster, from droughts to invasions, making religion a cornerstone of both governance and survival. In Mesopotamia, kingship was similarly intertwined with the divine. Rulers like Hammurabi claimed their laws were handed down by the gods, framing their edicts as divine mandates. The Code of Hammurabi, one of the earliest known legal systems, wasn't just a set of rules, it was a sacred text inscribed on stone steels for all to see. Temples, too, were centers of power, with priests managing vast estates, collecting taxes, and even overseeing legal disputes. These institutions weren't just religious, they were political, shaping the daily lives of citizens and reinforcing the authority of the state. The Nabataeans, though less formalized in their religious structures, also saw their rulers as divinely favored. Petra's iconic treasury, with its elaborate carvings of gods and mythical figures, wasn't just a place of worship, it was a symbol of royal legitimacy. The Nabataean kings presented themselves as protectors of sacred spaces, their authority bolstered by their connection to the divine. This interplay between religion and politics wasn't unique to the Nabataeans, it was a common thread across desert empires, where rulers used spiritual legitimacy to consolidate their power. Religious reforms and conflicts further shaped the political landscape. In Egypt, the reign of Akhenaten stands out as a dramatic example. He introduced a radical shift, elevating the sun god Aten above all others, and even moving the capital to a new city dedicated to this deity. While his reforms were short-lived, they reveal how religion could be used to challenge existing power structures and redefine societal norms. Similarly, conflicts over religious practices often mirrored political rivalries, as competing factions sought to align themselves with the will of the gods. But the influence of religion extended beyond the ruling elite. For ordinary citizens, faith was woven into the fabric of daily life. Temples were not just places of worship, they were hubs of community activity, where festivals, markets, and even education took place. Religious rituals, from offering prayers to participating in festivals, reinforced social cohesion and provided a sense of stability in an often unpredictable world. As we explore the intersection of religion and politics, it's clear that these two forces were deeply interconnected, shaping everything from laws to leadership. But to truly understand the lives of those who lived in these empires, we must look beyond the grand temples and royal decrees, into the homes, markets, and fields where ordinary people went about their daily lives. Their stories, often overshadowed by the deeds of kings and priests, reveal the human side of these ancient civilizations, a side that continues to resonate with us today. While the grandeur of pharaohs and the exploits of kings often dominate the stories of desert empires, the true heartbeat of these civilizations lay in the lives of ordinary people, farmers, artisans, traders, and families who shaped the day-to-day rhythm of their societies. What was life like for those who didn't live in palaces or command armies? How did they navigate the challenges of their environment? And what rituals and routines defined their existence? Let's step away from the monumental and into the personal, exploring the everyday world of desert civilizations. Homes in these empires were as diverse as the people who built them. In Egypt, the average family lived in modest mud brick houses designed to stay cool in the blistering heat. These homes often had flat roofs, where families slept during hot summer nights, gazing at the stars above. In Mesopotamia, houses were similarly built from mud bricks, but their layout often included a central courtyard, a space for cooking, socializing, and even small-scale farming. The Nabataeans, known for their ingenuity, carved homes directly into the rock faces of Petra, creating natural insulation against the desert's extremes. These dwellings weren't just shelters, they were reflections of the ingenuity and adaptability of their inhabitants. Clothing, too, was shaped by the environment. Linen, made from flax, was the fabric of choice in Egypt, prized for its lightness and breathability. Mesopotamians favored wool, woven into tunics and cloaks that provided warmth during cooler nights and protection from the sun. In the Arabian Peninsula, loose-fitting robes made from cotton or camel hair were common, offering both comfort and practicality in the arid climate. These garments weren't just functional, they often carried cultural significance, with patterns and colors indicating social status or regional identity. Food was central to daily life, and diets varied depending on geography and resources. Along the Nile, bread and beer were staples, made from barley and emmer wheat. Fish from the river and vegetables like onions, leeks, and garlic added variety to meals. In Mesopotamia, dates and grains like barley and wheat formed the backbone of the diet, supplemented by dairy products and meat from sheep and goats. The Nabataeans, with their mastery of trade, enjoyed a diverse array of foods, from imported spices to locally grown fruits and grains. Despite the harsh environment, these civilizations found ways to cultivate and trade for a rich and varied diet. Family and community were the cornerstones of daily life. Extended families often lived together, sharing resources and responsibilities. Education, while not universally accessible, played a key role in some societies. In Egypt, for instance, boys from wealthier families might attend scribble schools, learning to read and write hieroglyphs, a skill that opened doors to prestigious careers. In Mesopotamia, children were often taught trades by their parents, ensuring that knowledge and skills were passed down through generations. Community gatherings, from market days to religious festivals, provided opportunities for socializing and reinforcing cultural bonds. Yet, life in desert empires wasn't without its challenges. Disease was a constant threat, with limited medical knowledge and resources to combat it. Natural disasters, like droughts or sandstorms, could devastate crops and water supplies, leading to famine and hardship. Despite these difficulties, people found ways to adapt and endure, relying on their ingenuity and the support of their communities. One of the most fascinating aspects of daily life was the role of artisanal crafts. From pottery and weaving to metalworking and jewelry making, these skills were not just livelihoods, they were expressions of culture and identity. In the next section, we'll delve into the world of artisans, exploring how their creations shaped economies, influenced trade, and left a lasting legacy that continues to captivate us today. The deserts may seem harsh and unforgiving, but within their boundaries, creativity flourished in ways that still leave us in awe today. Among the most enduring legacies of desert empires are the artisanal crafts that not only served practical purposes, but also carried deep cultural meaning. From the intricate patterns of woven textiles to the gleaming beauty of handcrafted jewelry, these creations were more than just objects. They were expressions of identity, skill, and ingenuity. Take textiles, for example. In ancient Egypt, linen was the fabric of choice, prized for its durability and ability to keep the wearer cool under the scorching sun. Weavers used looms to create everything from simple tunics to elaborate garments adorned with intricate patterns. These textiles weren't just clothing, they were status symbols. The finer the weave, the higher the social standing of the wearer. In Mesopotamia, wool was the dominant material, spun and dyed in vibrant colors to create richly patterned robes and shawls. The artistry of these textiles often reflected regional styles, with motifs inspired by nature, mythology, or geometric designs. Pottery, too, was a cornerstone of daily life and trade. In the Nile Valley, artisans crafted vessels from clay, using techniques that had been perfected over centuries. These pots weren't just utilitarian, they were often decorated with scenes of daily life, religious symbols, or even hieroglyphs. In Mesopotamia, potters developed the potter's wheel, revolutionizing the craft and allowing for more uniform and intricate designs. The pottery of desert empires wasn't just functional, it was a canvas for storytelling, preserving glimpses of their world in every curve and line. Jewelry held a special place in these societies, serving as both adornment and amulet. In Egypt, gold was the metal of choice, often inlaid with precious stones like lapis lazuli and turquoise. Necklaces, bracelets, and rings weren't just decorative, they were believed to offer protection, with symbols like the ankh or the eye of Horus warding off evil. The Nabataeans, too, crafted exquisite jewelry, often incorporating motifs inspired by their trade connections, such as Roman coins or Persian designs. These pieces weren't just personal treasures, they were also valuable trade items, exchanged across vast distances and cultures. Weapons, though practical, were also works of art. Swords, daggers, and bows were often embellished with intricate carvings or inlays, transforming tools of war into symbols of power and prestige. In Mesopotamia, for instance, weapons were sometimes inscribed with prayers or the names of gods, invoking divine favor in battle. The craftsmanship behind these items reflected not just the skill of the artisans, but also the values of the societies that produced them. What's truly remarkable is how these crafts traveled far beyond their places of origin. Trade routes carried textiles, pottery, and jewelry across deserts and seas, spreading both goods and ideas. A piece of Egyptian linen might end up in a Babylonian marketplace, while Mesopotamian pottery could find its way into a Nabataean home. These exchanges weren't just economic, they were cultural, blending styles and techniques in ways that enriched the artistic traditions of desert empires. The tools and techniques used by these artisans were as innovative as their creations. From the potter's wheel to the loom, these inventions revolutionized production, allowing for greater precision and efficiency. Yet the process was often deeply personal, with each piece bearing the mark of its maker. This blend of innovation and individuality is what makes these crafts so enduringly fascinating. As we marvel at the artistry of these ancient civilizations, it's worth considering how their crafts connected them to the rhythms of life. Just as textiles, pottery and jewelry were woven into the fabric of their societies, so too were music and dance, expressions of joy, ritual, and community. These art forms, like the crafts themselves, reveal a world where creativity was as vital as survival, and where the human spirit found ways to thrive even in the harshest of environments. In the heart of the desert, where the winds whisper secrets across the sands, music and dance were more than mere entertainment. They were the pulse of life itself. For the ancient empires that thrived in these arid landscapes, rhythm and movement were essential to their cultural and spiritual identity, whether echoing through the grand temples of Egypt or resonating in the hidden courtyards of Petra. Music and dance connected people to each other, to their gods, and to the very essence of their existence. But what made these art forms so central to their societies, and how did they shape the stories and rituals that defined their world? The instruments of desert civilizations were as diverse as the cultures that created them. Drums, with their deep, resonant beats, were often used to mimic the rhythm of the heartbeat or the steady cadence of marching armies. In Egypt, the menat, a type of rattle, was shaken during religious ceremonies to invoke the goddess Hathor, while the sistrum, a metal percussion instrument, was believed to ward off evil spirits. Flutes made from reeds or bone produced haunting melodies that carried across the desert, their notes echoing the cries of the wind. And then there were the stringed instruments, like the lyre, whose delicate strings were plucked to create music that accompanied both joyous celebrations and solemn rituals. These instruments weren't just tools for making sound, they were imbued with symbolic meaning, each one a bridge between the earthly and the divine. Dance, too, was a powerful form of expression, often intertwined with music to create a sensory experience that transcended words. In Mesopotamia, ritual dances were performed to honor the gods, with movements that mimicked the cycles of nature, planting, harvesting, and the changing of the seasons. The Egyptians, known for their elaborate festivals, incorporated dance into celebrations of the Nile's flooding, a life-giving event that sustained their civilization. Dancers would move in synchronized patterns, their bodies telling stories of creation, death, and rebirth. These performances weren't just for entertainment, they were acts of devotion, a way to communicate with the gods and ensure their favor. Storytelling was another vital aspect of these cultural traditions. In the absence of written records for many, music and dance became living archives, preserving history and myth through movement and song. The Nabataeans, for instance, used dance to recount epic tales of their ancestors, their movements weaving together the past and present. In Egypt, songs and chants passed down through generations carried the wisdom of the pharaohs and the lessons of the gods. These oral traditions were more than just entertainment. They were a way to educate, inspire, and unite communities across time and space. The enduring influence of these musical and dance traditions can still be felt today. Modern Middle Eastern music, with its intricate rhythms and haunting melodies, owes much to the ancient instruments and scales developed by desert civilizations. Dance forms like belly dancing trace their roots to the celebratory movements of ancient cultures, where every gesture told a story. Even in contemporary storytelling, the themes and motifs of these ancient traditions continue to resonate, reminding us of the timeless power of creativity to connect and inspire. As we explore the role of music and dance in desert cultures, it's impossible to ignore how these art forms were intertwined with storytelling, the thread that wove together the fabric of their history. Through music, dance, and narrative, these civilizations preserved their identity, celebrated their triumphs, and navigated the challenges of their world. And as we turn our attention to the storytellers themselves, we'll discover how their words and songs kept the past alive, ensuring that the echoes of their empires would never fade. In the vast, open landscapes of desert empires, where the written word was often reserved for the elite or the sacred, oral traditions became the lifeblood of culture and history. Imagine sitting beneath a starry desert sky, listening as a storyteller weaves tales of gods, heroes, and moral lessons, their voice carrying the weight of generations. This was how the histories, values, and wisdom of these civilizations were preserved, not etched in stone, but passed down through the spoken word. But how did these oral traditions work, and what can they tell us about the societies that relied on them? At the heart of these traditions were the storytellers, poets, and bards, revered figures who held the collective memory of their people. In ancient Mesopotamia, for instance, the Naru, or storytellers, were more than entertainers, they were keepers of history. Their tales of epic heroes like Gilgamesh, who sought immortality, weren't just thrilling adventures, they were reflections of human struggles, aspirations, and the relationship between mortals and the divine. Similarly, in the Arabian Peninsula, poets known as sha'r were celebrated for their ability to compose verses that captured the essence of their culture, from the valor of warriors to the beauty of the desert. These performers didn't just recite stories, they brought them to life, using rhythm, repetition, and vivid imagery to make the past resonate with their audience. The themes of these stories were as varied as the landscapes they came from. Heroic tales of bravery and conquest were common, celebrating the deeds of legendary figures who embodied the values of their societies. Moral lessons, too, were woven into the fabric of these narratives, teaching listeners about justice, loyalty, and the consequences of hubris. In Egypt, stories like The Tale of Sinu explored themes of exile and redemption, offering insights into the human condition. Meanwhile, the Nabataeans likely shared tales of their ancestors' ingenuity in carving Petra from the cliffs, blending history with myth to inspire pride and resilience. Studying these oral traditions today, however, presents unique challenges. Unlike written records, which can endure for centuries, spoken stories are ephemeral, shaped by the memory and interpretation of each generation. Archaeologists and historians must piece together fragments of these traditions from secondary sources, such as inscriptions, artwork, or later written accounts. For example, the Epic of Gilgamesh, one of the oldest known stories, was preserved on clay tablets, but its origins likely lie in much older oral tales. This process of reconstruction is like assembling a puzzle with missing pieces, requiring both creativity and rigorous scholarship to uncover the voices of the past. Yet, despite these challenges, the importance of oral traditions cannot be overstated. They offer a window into the everyday lives and beliefs of people who might otherwise be lost to history. Through these stories, we learn not just about kings and gods, but about families, communities, and the struggles and triumphs that define their existence. Oral traditions remind us that history isn't just about grand events, it's about the human experiences that give those events meaning. As we turn our attention to the military strategies of desert empires, it's worth noting how these oral traditions might have influenced their approach to warfare. Stories of heroic battles and cunning tactics would have been passed down, inspiring leaders and soldiers alike. The lessons embedded in these tales, whether about unity, strategy, or resilience, likely shaped the way these civilizations defended their lands and expanded their influence. And it's in this interplay between storytelling and strategy that we see the full complexity of their world, where culture and conquest were deeply intertwined. The deserts, with their vast, open expanses and unforgiving terrain, might seem like unlikely places for military innovation. Yet, for the empires that called these arid lands home, the harsh environment became a battlefield where strategy and ingenuity reigned supreme. From the thundering hooves of chariot wheels to the precision of siege engines, desert civilizations developed military tactics and technologies that were as resourceful as they were formidable. But what made their approach to warfare so effective, and how did their understanding of the desert give them an edge over their adversaries? Chariots were among the most iconic weapons of ancient desert warfare. In Egypt, these swift, lightweight vehicles became a symbol of power and mobility on the battlefield. Drawn by horses and manned by skilled archers, chariots allowed armies to strike quickly and retreat before their enemies could respond. The Egyptians perfected the use of chariots during the New Kingdom, deploying them in coordinated formations that overwhelmed opposing forces. The chariot wasn't just a tool of war, it was a statement of technological sophistication, requiring expert craftsmanship and precise engineering to build and maintain. Cavalry, too, played a crucial role, especially in the Arabian Peninsula and Mesopotamia. Mounted warriors, armed with bows or spears, could traverse the desert with speed and agility, outmaneuvering slower infantry units. The Nabataeans, for instance, relied heavily on their cavalry to protect their lucrative trade routes, using their intimate knowledge of the terrain to ambush enemies and disappear into the dunes. These mounted units weren't just fighters, they were scouts, messengers, and symbols of the empire's reach and dominance. Siege warfare was another area where desert civilizations excelled. The Assyrians, known for their ruthlessness, developed advanced siege engines like battering rams and mobile towers to breach enemy fortifications. Their tactics were brutal but effective, combining psychological warfare such as terrorizing populations before an attack, with sheer mechanical force. In Egypt, siege weapons were used sparingly, as the empire often relied on diplomacy and alliances to achieve its goals. However, when battles did occur, their mastery of engineering allowed them to construct massive ramps and ladders to scale fortified walls. What truly set these empires apart, though, was their intimate understanding of the desert itself. The harsh environment, often seen as a disadvantage, became a weapon in their hands. Armies used the desert's vastness to their benefit, launching surprise attacks from unexpected directions or luring enemies into inhospitable terrain where supplies would run thin. The Nabataeans, for example, used their knowledge of hidden water sources to outlast opponents, while the Egyptians exploited the Nile's predictable flooding patterns to control movement and supply lines. Military leaders like Ramses II of Egypt and Ashurnasirpal II of Assyria became legends, not just for their victories but for their ability to inspire and innovate. Ramses's campaign at the Battle of Kadesh, though marked by claims of exaggerated victory, showcased his strategic brilliance and ability to turn near defeat into a stalemate. Ashurnasirpal, on the other hand, was a master of psychological warfare, using fear and spectacle to subdue conquered peoples. These leaders weren't just warriors, they were visionaries who understood that war was as much about perception as it was about physical conflict. But warfare in the desert wasn't just about brute strength or clever tactics, it was also a game of information. Espionage and intelligence played a critical role in shaping the outcomes of battles and campaigns. Spies, disguised as traders or travelers, gathered crucial details about enemy movements, resources, and weaknesses. In the next section, we'll delve into the shadowy world of ancient espionage, exploring how these empires used secrecy and subterfuge to outwit their foes and secure their dominance. The desert, it seems, was not just a battlefield of sand and steel. It was a theater of secrets where knowledge was the ultimate weapon. In the shadowy world of desert empires, where survival often depended on cunning as much as strength, espionage and intelligence became powerful tools in the hands of rulers and generals. While battles were fought with swords and chariots, wars were often won, or lost long before armies clashed, thanks to the quiet work of spies, informants, and codebreakers. How did these ancient civilizations harness the art of secrecy to outmaneuver their enemies? And what can their methods teach us about the timeless importance of information in shaping history? One of the most fascinating aspects of ancient espionage was the use of coded messages. In Mesopotamia, for instance, clay tablets inscribed with cuneiform were sometimes written in obscure dialects or encoded with symbols known only to a select few. These cryptic messages allowed rulers to communicate sensitive information without fear of interception. Similarly, the Egyptians used hieroglyphs not just for monumental inscriptions, but also for covert communication. Certain symbols could carry hidden meanings, turning a seemingly ordinary text into a secret directive or warning. These early forms of cryptography show how desert civilizations understood the value of secrecy long before the concept of modern encryption existed. Undercover agents, too, played a critical role in gathering intelligence. Spies often disguised themselves as traders, travelers, or even servants, blending seamlessly into their surroundings to observe and report on enemy movements. In the Arabian Peninsula, where trade routes were the lifeblood of empires, merchants doubled as informants, relaying valuable information about rival kingdoms or potential threats. The Nabataeans, masters of commerce, likely used their extensive trade networks to their advantage, embedding agents in foreign markets to monitor political developments and economic shifts. These covert operatives weren't just gatherers of information, they were active participants in shaping the strategies of their rulers. Espionage wasn't limited to warfare, it also played a key role in diplomacy. Ambassadors and envoys often carried secret messages or acted as intermediaries in delicate negotiations. In Egypt, pharaohs used trusted advisors to establish alliances or sow discord among rival factions. The Hittites, too, were known for their diplomatic cunning, using spies to gather intelligence on neighboring states and negotiate treaties that favored their interests. These activities reveal how espionage was as much about building alliances as it was about undermining enemies. Perhaps one of the most famous examples of ancient espionage comes from the story of the Trojan horse. While the tale is steeped in myth, it reflects a deeper truth about the use of deception in ancient warfare. The idea of infiltrating an enemy's stronghold through trickery wasn't just a literary device, it was a strategy employed by real desert empires. The Assyrians, for instance, were masters of psychological warfare, using spies to spread fear and confusion among their enemies before launching an attack. These tactics demonstrate how intelligence and subterfuge were essential components of military success. As we explore the shadowy world of ancient espionage, it's impossible not to see parallels in our modern era. The tools may have changed, but the principles remain the same. Knowledge is power, and those who control information often control the outcome of conflicts. Yet, the use of spies and coded messages also raises questions about ethics and accountability. How did these civilizations regulate the use of espionage, and what safeguards existed to prevent abuse? This brings us to the legal systems of desert empires. where rules and regulations governed not just warfare and diplomacy, but every aspect of life. From the Code of Hammurabi to the decrees of Egyptian pharaohs, these legal frameworks provide a fascinating glimpse into how ancient societies sought to balance power, justice, and order. As we turn our attention to their laws, we'll uncover how these civilizations navigated the complexities of governance, ensuring that even in the harshest environments, a sense of fairness and stability prevail. In the vast and often unforgiving deserts, where survival depended on resourcefulness and unity, the need for order and justice was paramount. Desert empires, renowned for their architectural marvels and cultural achievements, also developed sophisticated legal systems that governed every aspect of life, from property disputes to criminal offenses. These legal frameworks weren't just about maintaining control. They were about creating a sense of fairness and stability in societies where cooperation was essential for survival. But how did these ancient civilizations craft their laws, and what can we learn from their approach to justice? At the heart of many desert legal systems was the concept of divine authority. Laws were often seen as extensions of the will of the gods, with rulers acting as intermediaries between the divine and the mortal. In Mesopotamia, the Code of Hammurabi stands as one of the earliest and most comprehensive legal codes. Inscribed on a massive stone stele, it detailed nearly 300 laws covering everything from trade and property to family and criminal matters. The code famously proclaimed an eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth, reflecting a principle of proportional justice. Yet, it also included provisions for protecting the vulnerable, such as widows and orphans, showing a nuanced understanding of social responsibility. Judges played a crucial role in administering these laws, acting as both arbiters and enforcers. In Egypt, local magistrates and officials known as viziers were tasked with resolving disputes and ensuring that justice was served. These judges often relied on scribes to document cases and verdicts, creating records that helped maintain consistency and transparency. The scribes themselves were highly respected figures, their mastery of writing and record keeping essential to the functioning of the legal system. This blend of oral tradition and written documentation ensured that laws were not only enforced but also preserved for future generations. Punishments varied widely, reflecting the values and priorities of each society. In some cases, fines or reparations were imposed to compensate for wrongdoing, while in others, physical punishments or public shaming served as deterrents. The severity of the penalty often depended on the social status of the individuals involved, with higher-ranking individuals sometimes receiving more lenient treatment. Yet, even in these hierarchical systems, the law often sought to balance power with accountability, ensuring that no one, not even the pharaoh, was entirely above the law. Religion and morality were deeply intertwined with these legal codes. Laws were often framed as divine commands, and breaking them was seen not just as a crime against society, but also as a sin against the gods. In Egypt, for instance, the concept of Ma'at, cosmic order and balance, was central to both religious and legal thought. Upholding Ma'at meant adhering to laws that promoted harmony and justice, reinforcing the idea that legal systems were as much about spiritual well-being as they were about social order. But the legal systems of desert empires weren't static. They evolved over time, adapting to new challenges and influences. Trade, for example, played a significant role in shaping economic laws, as empires had to regulate commerce and resolve disputes between merchants from different regions. Contracts, often inscribed on clay tablets or papyrus, became essential tools for ensuring fair trade practices. These documents weren't just legal instruments, they were also symbols of trust and cooperation, reflecting the interconnected nature of desert societies. As we explore how these legal systems maintained order and justice, it's impossible to ignore their economic underpinnings. The enforcement of contracts, the regulation of trade, and the protection of property all point to a deeper connection between law and economics. In the next section, we'll delve into the economic systems of desert empires, uncovering how their innovations in trade, taxation, and resource management fueled their growth and sustained their civilizations. From bustling markets to intricate tax codes, the story of their economies reveals yet another layer of their remarkable ingenuity. In the heart of the desert, where resources were scarce and survival was a daily challenge, ancient civilizations developed economic systems so sophisticated that they rivaled those of modern societies. How did these empires, surrounded by endless sands, create thriving economies that supported their populations and fueled their growth? The answer lies in their mastery of trade, taxation, and resource management innovations that turned scarcity into abundance and laid the groundwork for their enduring success. At the core of these economies was trade, the lifeblood that connected desert empires to the wider world. The Nabataeans, for instance, transformed their capital, Petra, into a bustling hub of commerce, where goods from as far as India and the Mediterranean exchanged hands. Spices, incense, and precious metals flowed through their markets, creating a network of wealth that extended far beyond their borders. But trade wasn't just about goods, it was also about ideas. Merchants brought with them new technologies, cultural practices, and even religious beliefs, enriching the societies they visited. This exchange of goods and knowledge made desert empires not just economic powerhouses, but also cultural crossroads. Currency, too, played a pivotal role in these economies. While barter was common in early societies, many desert civilizations eventually adopted standardized forms of money to facilitate trade. In Mesopotamia, silver became a widely accepted medium of exchange, measured in shekels and used to purchase everything from grain to livestock. The Egyptians, on the other hand, relied on a system of grain banks, where surplus harvests were stored and used as a form of credit. These early financial systems allowed for greater economic stability and growth, enabling empires to fund large-scale projects like temples, roads, and irrigation systems. Taxation was another cornerstone of their economic structures. In Egypt, the pharaohs implemented a system of grain taxes, collecting a portion of each farmer's harvest to support the state and its projects. These taxes weren't just about revenue, they were about ensuring the survival of the entire population. In times of drought or famine, the stored grain could be redistributed, preventing widespread starvation. Similarly, the Assyrians used taxes to fund their military campaigns and infrastructure, creating a self-sustaining cycle of growth and expansion. Resource management was perhaps the most critical aspect of their economies. In a land where water was more valuable than gold, desert civilizations developed ingenious methods to conserve and distribute this precious resource. The Garamantes of the Sahara, for example, built an extensive network of underground tunnels, or fagaras, to tap into hidden aquifers and irrigate their crops. These systems weren't just feats of engineering, they were lifelines, ensuring that even in the driest months, their people had enough to eat. Markets and artisans also played a vital role in these economies. From weavers and potters to metalworkers and jewelers, artisans produced goods that were both practical and beautiful. Their creations weren't just sold locally, They were traded across vast distances, becoming symbols of the empire's wealth and craftsmanship. Markets, often located in bustling city centers, were more than just places to buy and sell. They were social hubs where people gathered to exchange news, negotiate deals, and celebrate festivals. As we explore these economic systems, it's clear that the ingenuity of desert empires extended far beyond their ability to survive in harsh conditions. They created economies that were not only sustainable but also dynamic, fostering innovation and growth in ways that continue to inspire us today. And as we turn our attention to the role of education and scholarship, we'll see how these economic foundations supported intellectual pursuits, shaping the minds and ideas that would leave a lasting legacy on the world. In the bustling cities and quiet oases of desert empires, education was more than just a luxury. It was the foundation of their survival and success. Far from the barren wastelands they inhabited, these civilizations cultivated centers of learning that rivaled any in the ancient world. From the scribble schools of Egypt to the scholarly libraries of Mesopotamia, education was a cornerstone of their societies, ensuring that knowledge was not only preserved but also advanced. But how did these systems work, and what can they teach us about the intellectual achievements of the ancient world? At the heart of education in desert empires were the schools, where young minds were shaped into thinkers, leaders, and innovators. In Egypt, scribble schools were among the most prestigious institutions, training boys in the art of reading and writing hieroglyphs. This skill was not just about mastering a complex script, it was about gaining access to a world of opportunities, from administrative roles to religious duties. Students practiced their craft on ostraka, fragments of pottery or stone, copying texts that ranged from practical manuals to literary masterpieces. The rigorous training was designed to produce not just scribes, but thinkers who could navigate the complexities of their society. Libraries, too, played a vital role in preserving and advancing knowledge. The Library of Alexandria, though not located in the desert, stands as a testament to the intellectual ambitions of ancient civilizations. Housing hundreds of thousands of scrolls, it became a beacon of learning, attracting scholars from across the Mediterranean and beyond. But it wasn't just grand libraries that mattered. Smaller collections in cities like Babylon and Thebes also served as repositories of wisdom, safeguarding texts on everything from astronomy to medicine. These institutions were more than just storage spaces. They were hubs of intellectual exchange, where ideas were debated, refined, and passed on to future generations. The subjects taught in these educational systems reflected the priorities and values of their societies. Mathematics, for instance, was essential for everything from architecture to trade. The Babylonians developed a base 60-number system that still influences how we measure time and angles today, while the Egyptians used geometry to design their monumental structures with astonishing precision. Astronomy, too, was a key area of study, with scholars tracking the movements of stars to create calendars and predict celestial events. These observations weren't just academic exercises. They were practical tools that shaped agriculture, navigation, and even religious rituals. Medicine was another field where desert civilizations made significant contributions. Egyptian physicians, for example, were renowned for their expertise, combining practical treatments with spiritual practices. Medical texts like the Edwin Smith papyrus detail surgical techniques and remedies for everything from broken bones to infections, revealing a sophisticated understanding of the human body. Similarly, Mesopotamian healers used a combination of herbal remedies and incantations to treat illnesses, blending science with spirituality in ways that reflected their worldview. Philosophy and ethics also found a place in these educational systems, shaping the moral and intellectual frameworks of their societies. In Mesopotamia, texts like the Epic of Gilgamesh explored profound questions about life, death, and the human condition, offering insights that resonate even today. Egyptian wisdom literature, such as the instructions of Ptahhotep, provided guidance on everything from leadership to personal conduct, emphasizing the importance of balance and harmony. These works weren't just abstract musings, they were practical guides that influenced how people lived and governed. What's striking is how these educational systems connected different aspects of life, from the practical to the profound. Astronomy wasn't just about mapping the stars, it was about understanding the cosmos and humanity's place within it. Medicine wasn't just about healing the body, it was about restoring balance between the physical and the spiritual. This holistic approach to learning reflects a worldview where knowledge was seen as a tool for both survival and enlightenment. As we reflect on the educational achievements of desert empires, it's impossible not to see their influence on the modern world. Their contributions to mathematics, astronomy, and medicine laid the groundwork for later scientific discoveries, while their philosophical insights continue to inspire thinkers today. But perhaps their greatest legacy is the idea that education is not just a privilege, it's a necessity, a way to preserve the past, shape the present, and build a better future. This dedication to knowledge also extended into their medical practices, where the line between science and spirituality often blurred. From herbal remedies to surgical techniques, the healing arts of desert civilizations reveal a deep understanding of both the body and the mind, offering timeless lessons in the pursuit of health and well-being. In the arid landscapes of desert empires, where survival often hinged on resilience and resourcefulness, the pursuit of health and healing was both a science and an art. Ancient physicians and healers didn't just treat ailments, they sought to understand the intricate balance between the body, the mind, and the spiritual world. Their medical practices, rooted in a blend of empirical knowledge and spiritual belief, reveal a depth of insight that continues to astonish us today. What can we learn from their approach to medicine, and how did their innovations shape the healing traditions that followed? Herbal remedies were a cornerstone of medical practice in these civilizations. In Egypt, for instance, healers relied on plants like aloe vera, frankincense, and myrrh to treat everything from skin infections to digestive issues. These natural remedies weren't just chosen at random, they were the result of centuries of observation and experimentation, passed down through generations. Papyrus scrolls like the Ebers papyrus detail hundreds of herbal treatments, offering a glimpse into the sophisticated pharmacopoeia of ancient Egypt. Similarly, Mesopotamian healers used herbs like licorice and thyme, often combining them with honey or wine to create potent medicines. These practices show a profound understanding of nature's healing power, one that still influences modern herbal medicine today. But medical knowledge in desert empires went far beyond herbs. Surgical techniques were surprisingly advanced, with evidence of procedures ranging from setting broken bones to treating dental issues. Egyptian physicians, for example, were skilled in wound care, using linen bandages soaked in honey to prevent infection, a practice that modern science has since validated. The Edwin Smith Papyrus, one of the oldest medical texts in existence, describes detailed surgical methods for treating head injuries, complete with observations on symptoms and prognoses. This level of precision suggests a deep understanding of anatomy and a commitment to empirical observation. Spiritual healing played an equally important role, reflecting the belief that illness was often linked to supernatural forces. In Mesopotamia, healers known as Hatshepsut combined herbal treatments with incantations and rituals, invoking the gods to drive away evil spirits believed to cause disease. Egyptian physicians, too, integrated spiritual practices into their work, using amulets and prayers alongside physical treatments. This holistic approach recognized that healing wasn't just about the body, it was about restoring harmony between the physical and the spiritual realms. The role of physicians and healers in these societies was both respected and multifaceted. In Egypt, the title of SWNW, or physician, was held by highly trained individuals who often specialized in specific areas, such as eye diseases or childbirth. These professionals were supported by a network of priests, midwives, and herbalists, creating a collaborative approach to healthcare. Similarly, in Mesopotamia, the Asu physician and Hatshepsut exorcist worked together to provide comprehensive care, blending practical treatments with spiritual interventions. The contributions of desert empires to the field of medicine were profound and far-reaching. Their emphasis on observation, documentation, and experimentation laid the groundwork for later medical traditions, influencing Greek, Roman, and Islamic medicine. The Hippocratic corpus, for example, shows clear parallels to earlier Egyptian and Mesopotamian texts, suggesting a direct line of transmission. Even today, practices like wound care with honey and the use of herbal remedies echo the wisdom of these ancient healers. As we marvel at their medical achievements, it's worth considering how their innovations extended beyond the realm of healing. The same ingenuity that allowed them to harness the healing power of plants also enabled them to cultivate the land, transforming barren deserts into fertile fields. This brings us to their agricultural innovations, where their mastery of nature's cycles and resources allowed them to thrive in some of the harshest environments on Earth. In the heart of the desert, where the sun scorches the earth and water is as precious as gold, ancient civilizations achieved something extraordinary. They turned barren landscapes into thriving agricultural hubs. How did these societies, surrounded by seemingly endless dunes, manage to cultivate crops and sustain their populations? The answer lies in their groundbreaking agricultural innovations, techniques so advanced that they continue to inspire farmers and scientists today. From ingenious irrigation systems to sustainable soil management, desert empires transformed scarcity into abundance, proving that even the harshest environments could be tamed with creativity and determination. At the core of their success was irrigation, the lifeblood of desert agriculture. In Egypt, the annual flooding of the Nile brought nutrient-rich silt to the fields, but it was their mastery of irrigation that allowed them to harness this gift year-round. Canals and basins were carefully constructed to channel water to crops, ensuring that even in the driest months, the land remained fertile. Similarly, the Nabataeans engineered an intricate system of cisterns and channels to capture and store rainwater, creating an oasis in the heart of Petra. These systems weren't just about survival, they were about control, allowing farmers to predict and manage their yields with remarkable precision. Crop rotation was another key innovation, ensuring that the soil remained fertile and productive. By alternating the types of crops grown in a field, desert farmers prevented the depletion of nutrients, maintaining the land's long-term health. In Mesopotamia, for instance, farmers rotated barley with legumes, which naturally replenished the soil with nitrogen. This practice not only boosted yields but also diversified diets, providing a steady supply of grains, vegetables, and pulses. The Egyptians, too, employed crop rotation, often planting wheat and flax in the same fields to maximize productivity. These techniques reveal a deep understanding of ecological balance, centuries before the term was even coined. Soil management was equally critical, as the arid environment posed unique challenges. Desert farmers developed methods to prevent erosion and retain moisture, such as using organic matter to enrich the soil and constructing terraces to slow water runoff. In the Sahara, the Garamantes tapped into underground aquifers, creating a network of tunnels called fagaras to irrigate their fields. These innovations weren't just about growing food, they were about creating stability in an unpredictable world, ensuring that even in times of drought, their people had enough to eat. The crops they cultivated were as diverse as the techniques they used. Along the Nile, wheat and barley were staples, forming the backbone of the Egyptian diet. In Mesopotamia, dates and figs thrived, providing not only sustenance but also valuable trade goods. The Nabataeans grew grapes and olives, turning their arid homeland into a producer of wine and oil. These crops weren't just sources of food, they were symbols of cultural identity, woven into the rituals and traditions of their societies. The impact of these agricultural innovations extended far beyond their borders. Neighboring regions adopted and adapted their techniques, spreading knowledge and improving food security across the ancient world. The Persian Qanat system, for example, influenced water management practices as far as Spain and China, demonstrating the far-reaching legacy of desert ingenuity. As we marvel at these ancient farming practices, it's impossible not to see their relevance today. In a world grappling with climate change and resource scarcity, the lessons of desert empires offer timeless insights into sustainability and resilience. Their ability to thrive in the harshest conditions reminds us that even the most daunting challenges can be overcome with creativity and cooperation. But the ingenuity of desert civilizations wasn't confined to the land. Beyond the fields and orchards, they turned their attention to the seas, crafting ships and navigating trade routes that connected distant shores. Their maritime activities, like their agricultural innovations, reveal a society that saw opportunity in every horizon, a story we'll explore next. It might seem surprising that desert empires, often associated with endless dunes and scorching heat, were also skilled navigators of water. Yet rivers, oases, and even seas played a vital role in their expansion and survival. These civilizations didn't just conquer the land, they mastered the waters, turning waterways into highways of trade, culture, and innovation. How did these arid societies become maritime powers, and what secrets lie beneath their shipbuilding and navigation techniques? The Nile River was the lifeblood of ancient Egypt, but it was also a bustling thoroughfare for commerce and communication. Egyptian ships, crafted from local timber and reeds, were marvels of engineering, designed to glide effortlessly through the river's currents. These vessels weren't just practical, they were symbols of the empire's reach, carrying everything from grain and stone to exotic goods from distant lands. The Egyptians even ventured into the Mediterranean and the Red Sea, establishing trade routes that connected them to the wider world. Their ability to navigate both river and sea routes highlights a versatility that defied the limitations of their environment. Further east, the Mesopotamians relied heavily on the Tigris and Euphrates rivers to sustain their trade networks. Their ships, often made from bitumen-coated planks, were built to withstand the rigors of river travel, transporting goods like textiles, grains, and metals. But their maritime ambitions didn't stop at rivers. Mesopotamian traders also sailed the Persian Gulf, reaching as far as the Indus Valley. These voyages weren't just about goods, they were about ideas, as merchants brought back new technologies, art styles, and cultural practices that enriched their own society. The Nabataeans, known for their desert ingenuity, also made their mark on the seas. While Petra was their inland stronghold, they recognized the importance of coastal trade. The port city of Ayla, located on the Red Sea, became a key hub for their maritime activities. From here, Nabataean ships carried frankincense and myrrh to markets across the Mediterranean and beyond. Their navigation skills were unparalleled, using the stars and coastal landmarks to guide their journeys. These maritime ventures not only boosted their economy, but also cemented their reputation as master traders. Shipbuilding techniques were a testament to the resourcefulness of these civilizations. In the absence of vast forests, they used materials like reeds, papyrus, and imported timber to construct their vessels. The Egyptians, for example, developed techniques to bind reeds tightly, creating lightweight yet durable boats. Mesopotamian shipbuilders used bitumen to waterproof their crafts, ensuring they could withstand long voyages. These innovations show how desert empires turned scarcity into opportunity, using whatever resources they had to achieve their goals. Ports and coastal cities were the beating hearts of these maritime networks. Places like Byblos in the Levant and Berenice on the Red Sea became bustling centers of trade and cultural exchange. These cities weren't just transit points, they were melting pots where ideas, languages, and traditions intermingled. The wealth generated by maritime trade funded the construction of grand temples, markets, and public works, transforming these ports into thriving urban centers. As we delve into the maritime activities of desert empires, it's clear that their interactions with neighboring cultures were as much about diplomacy as they were about commerce. The exchange of goods often went hand in hand with the exchange of ideas, creating a dynamic interplay that shaped the ancient world. From the banks of the Nile to the shores of the Persian Gulf, these civilizations proved that even in the harshest environments, human ingenuity knows no bounds. But their maritime endeavors were just one piece of a much larger puzzle. Beyond trade and transportation, desert empires also left behind a rich legacy of art, literature, and mythology stories that continue to captivate us today. These tales, like the waters they navigated, carry the echoes of their triumphs, struggles, and enduring spirit. The deserts may have isolated these empires geographically, but they were far from isolated culturally. In fact, the interactions between desert civilizations and their neighbors were some of the most dynamic and transformative forces in their history. Through trade, conquest, and cultural exchange, these empires didn't just survive in their harsh environments. They thrived, absorbing and sharing ideas, goods, and technologies that reshaped their societies and left a lasting impact on the world. Trade was perhaps the most significant channel of interaction, turning the deserts into bustling crossroads of commerce. The Nabataeans, for instance, leveraged their strategic position along the incense route to connect the Mediterranean world with the riches of the East. Caravans laden with frankincense, myrrh, and spices traveled through Petra, bringing not only wealth but also new ideas and customs. Similarly, the Egyptians traded gold, papyrus, and linen with their neighbors, while importing timber, olive oil, and exotic goods from distant lands. These exchanges weren't just about material wealth, they were about the flow of knowledge, as merchants carried with them stories, technologies, and artistic styles that enriched their own cultures. But trade wasn't always peaceful. Conflicts over resources and trade routes often sparked fierce rivalries. The Assyrians, for example, waged wars to control key trade networks, using their military might to dominate neighboring states. These conquests, while brutal, also facilitated cultural exchange. Conquered peoples were often integrated into the empire, bringing with them their own traditions and innovations. The result was a blending of cultures, where Babylonian astronomy, Phoenician shipbuilding, and Egyptian medicine coexisted and cross-pollinated, creating a rich tapestry of knowledge and creativity. Diplomatic alliances also played a crucial role in shaping these interactions. Marriages between royal families, treaties between rulers, and the exchange of envoys helped forge bonds that went beyond mere commerce. In Egypt, for instance, the pharaohs often formed alliances with foreign powers to secure their borders and strengthen their influence. These diplomatic ties weren't just political, they were cultural, as royal courts became meeting places for artists, scholars, and craftsmen from different lands. The Hittites, too, used diplomacy to build a network of allies, ensuring their empire's stability and prosperity. Cultural influences were perhaps the most enduring legacy of these interactions. The art, architecture, and religious practices of desert empires often bore the marks of their neighbors. Mesopotamian ziggurats, for example, influenced the design of Egyptian temples, while Greek and Roman styles left their imprint on Nabataean architecture. Religious beliefs also traveled along trade routes, with deities like Isis and Mithras finding worshippers far from their places of origin. These exchanges reveal a world where cultures were not isolated but interconnected, constantly evolving through contact and collaboration. Yet, these relationships weren't without tension. The clash of cultures sometimes led to conflict, as different societies vied for dominance or resisted outside influence. The Assyrians, known for their ruthless conquests, often faced rebellions from subjugated peoples, while the Egyptians struggled to maintain their independence in the face of foreign invasions. These conflicts remind us that cultural exchange is rarely a one-sided process. It's a negotiation, marked by both cooperation and resistance. As we explore these interactions, it's clear that the desert empires were not just passive recipients of outside influences. They were active participants in a global network of exchange, shaping and being shaped by the world around them. And it's this dynamic interplay that set the stage for their most remarkable achievements, their architectural innovations, where the blending of styles and techniques reached its zenith, creating structures that still inspire awe today. The architectural innovations of desert empires stand as a testament to human ingenuity, transforming the harshest landscapes into breathtaking monuments of culture and faith. These civilizations didn't just build structures, they created masterpieces that harmonized with their environment, blending practicality with profound symbolism. From the colossal pyramids of Egypt to the intricate rock-cut facades of Petra, their architectural achievements reveal a deep understanding of materials, design, and purpose, leaving behind a legacy that continues to awe and inspire. At the heart of their architectural brilliance was an unparalleled mastery of materials. In Egypt, the use of limestone and granite wasn't just about durability, it was a statement of permanence and divine connection. The Great Pyramid of Giza, constructed with over 2 million stone blocks, each weighing several tons, remains one of the most precise and enduring structures ever built. The Egyptians' ability to quarry, transport, and assemble these massive stones with such precision speaks to their advanced engineering skills and organizational prowess. Similarly, the Nabataeans carved their city of Petra directly into rose-red sandstone cliffs, turning the very mountains into their canvas. This technique not only showcased their craftsmanship, but also provided natural insulation against the desert's extremes. Design principles played a crucial role in shaping these architectural wonders. Symmetry, proportion, and alignment were not just aesthetic choices, they were deeply symbolic. In Egypt, temples and tombs were often aligned with celestial events, such as the rising of certain stars or the solstices. The Great Sphinx, with its lion's body and human head, is believed to represent the pharaoh as a guardian of the horizon, blending human and divine attributes. In Petra, the treasury's ornate facade, with its towering columns and intricate carvings, reflects a fusion of Hellenistic, Egyptian, and Mesopotamian influences, symbolizing the Nabataeans' role as cultural intermediaries. Construction techniques were equally innovative, reflecting a blend of artistry and practicality. The Egyptians developed ramps, sledges, and counterweight systems to move and lift heavy stones, while the Nabataeans used sophisticated chiseling and scaffolding methods to carve their structures directly into rock. These techniques weren't just about building, they were about creating spaces that resonated with spiritual and cultural significance. The hypostyle halls of Egyptian temples, with their forest of towering columns, were designed to evoke the primeval marsh from which creation emerged, while the narrow, winding passages of Petra's Sikh were meant to awe visitors and prepare them for the grandeur of the treasury. Perhaps most striking is how these buildings reflected the values and beliefs of their creators. In Egypt, the pyramids were not just tombs, they were cosmic machines designed to guide the pharaoh's soul to the afterlife. The intricate hieroglyphs and reliefs adorning temple walls told stories of gods, kings, and the eternal cycle of life and death. In Petra, the rock-cut tombs were both practical and symbolic, serving as resting places for the dead while also proclaiming the wealth and power of the living. These structures were more than just architecture, they were expressions of identity, faith, and ambition. As we marvel at these iconic structures, it's impossible to ignore their environmental adaptations. The thick stone walls of Egyptian temples provided natural cooling, while the Nabataeans' use of cisterns and water channels ensured a steady supply of water in their arid surroundings. These innovations reveal a deep respect for the natural world, as well as a determination to thrive within its constraints. The architectural legacy of desert empires is a reminder that even in the most challenging environments, human creativity can flourish. Their buildings were not just shelters, they were statements, connecting the earthly and the divine, the practical and the profound. And as we explore their environmental adaptations further, we'll see how this same ingenuity extended to their mastery of the land and its resources, shaping civilizations that endured for millennia. In the relentless heat of the desert, where survival often feels like a battle against nature itself, the ancient civilizations that flourished there achieved something remarkable. They didn't just endure, they thrived. How did they manage to build thriving societies in environments where water was scarce, temperatures soared, and resources were limited? The answer lies in their ingenious environmental adaptations, solutions so effective that they continue to inspire us today. From mastering water conservation to designing clothing that offered both protection and comfort, these empires turned the challenges of their harsh surroundings into opportunities for innovation. Water, the most precious resource in the desert, was at the center of their strategies. The Nabataeans, for instance, engineered an elaborate system of cisterns and channels to capture and store every drop of rainfall. In Petra, their capital, they carved intricate networks into the rock, ensuring that water could be collected, stored, and distributed even during the driest months. Similarly, the Persians developed qanats, underground tunnels that tapped into groundwater and transported it across vast distances, turning arid landscapes into fertile fields. These systems weren't just feats of engineering, they were lifelines, enabling entire cities to flourish where none should have existed. But water conservation was only part of the story. Desert civilizations also understood the importance of staying cool in extreme heat. Shade structures, like the courtyards and covered walkways found in Mesopotamian and Egyptian cities, provided relief from the relentless sun. Homes were often built with thick mud brick walls, which absorbed heat during the day and released it at night, creating a natural cooling effect. Even the layout of their cities reflected this understanding, with narrow streets and closely packed buildings designed to maximize shade and minimize exposure to the sun. Clothing, too, played a crucial role in their adaptation. Far from the heavy, cumbersome garments one might expect, desert dwellers wore loose, flowing robes made from lightweight materials like linen and cotton. These garments allowed air to circulate, keeping the body cool while also protecting against the sun's harsh rays. In Egypt, linen was the fabric of choice, prized for its breathability and durability. The Nabataeans, on the other hand, often wore robes made from camel hair, which provided insulation against both heat and cold. These clothing choices weren't just practical. They were a testament to their deep understanding of the environment. Perhaps the most striking aspect of these adaptations is how they reveal a harmonious relationship between humans and their surroundings. Desert empires didn't try to conquer nature. They worked with it, using their ingenuity to create sustainable solutions that allowed them to thrive. This approach offers valuable lessons for modern societies as we grapple with climate change and resource scarcity. Their ability to innovate and adapt in the face of adversity is a reminder that even the most challenging environments can be transformed into places of abundance and opportunity. As we marvel at their environmental adaptations, it's impossible not to notice how these solutions extended beyond the practical into the realm of the artistic. The same creativity that allowed them to harness water and design cooling systems also found expression in their art and architecture, where functionality and beauty were often intertwined. From the intricate carvings of Petra to the monumental temples of Egypt, their artistic innovations reveal a society that saw the desert not as a barrier, but as a source of inspiration. And it's in these creations that we find the true essence of their legacy, a legacy that continues to captivate and inspire us today. The artistic innovations of desert empires are a vivid testament to their creativity and resilience. Far from being barren wastelands, these arid regions became fertile ground for some of the most striking and symbolic art forms in history. From the vibrant murals of ancient Egypt to the intricate carvings of Petra, the art of desert civilizations wasn't just decorative, it was a language rich with meaning and purpose. How did these societies, shaped by their harsh environments, develop such distinctive artistic styles? And what can their creations tell us about their world? Color played a central role in their artistic expressions, serving as both an aesthetic choice and a symbolic tool. In Egypt, artists used pigments derived from natural minerals to create vivid hues that adorned temple walls and tombs. Blue, made from lapis lazuli, symbolized the heavens and the Nile's life-giving waters, while green, created from malachite, represented rebirth and fertility. These colors weren't just visually striking, they carried spiritual significance, connecting the earthly with the divine. Similarly, the Nabataeans used the natural tones of Petra's sandstone cliffs to craft their iconic facades, blending art with the raw beauty of their surroundings. Form and composition were equally important, reflecting a deep understanding of balance and harmony. Egyptian art, for instance, often adhered to strict conventions, with figures depicted in profile to emphasize clarity and order. This rigid structure wasn't just about aesthetics, it reflected their belief in Maat, the cosmic balance that governed the universe. In contrast, Mesopotamian art embraced a more dynamic style, with scenes of battle, hunting, and mythology depicted in swirling, energetic compositions. These differences reveal how artistic styles were shaped by cultural values, offering a window into the worldview of each civilization. Symbolism was woven into every aspect of their art, turning ordinary objects into powerful expressions of belief and identity. The Ankh, representing eternal life, and the Eye of Horus, symbolizing protection, were recurring motifs in Egyptian art, appearing in everything from jewelry to temple reliefs. In Mesopotamia, the image of the Lamashu, a winged bull with a human head, served as a guardian figure, warding off evil spirits and protecting sacred spaces. These symbols weren't just decorative, they were talismans, imbued with spiritual power and meaning. The environment itself was a profound influence on their artistic expressions. The stark beauty of the desert, its vast skies, shifting sands, and dramatic light inspired a sense of awe and reverence that found its way into their art. Egyptian tomb paintings often depicted the Nile as a central motif, its waters teeming with life and abundance. The Nabataeans, surrounded by towering cliffs, carved their city directly into the rock, blending their creations seamlessly with the natural landscape. This interplay between art and environment reveals a deep respect for the land and its rhythms, as well as a desire to harmonize human creativity with the forces of nature. The impact of these artistic innovations extends far beyond their time. The bold colors and symbolic motifs of Egyptian art influenced Greek and Roman artists, who adopted and adapted their techniques. Mesopotamian cylinder seals, with their intricate designs, became templates for later stamping and engraving methods. Even the rock-cut architecture of Petra inspired generations of builders, from the Byzantine Empire to modern architects. These connections remind us that the art of desert empires wasn't just a product of its time, it was a bridge to the future, shaping the creative traditions of countless cultures. As we reflect on their enduring legacy, it's clear that the art of desert civilizations was more than just a reflection of their world, it was a way of shaping it. Through color, form, and symbolism, they expressed their deepest beliefs, celebrated their triumphs, and navigated the challenges of their environment. Their art wasn't just about beauty, it was about meaning, a way to connect the human experience with the mysteries of the cosmos. And as we turn our attention to their spiritual practices, we'll see how this same interplay between the earthly and the divine shaped their rituals and beliefs, leaving behind a legacy that continues to inspire and captivate us today. The legacy of desert empires is not confined to the sands of time. It lives on in the foundations of our modern world. These ancient civilizations, born in the harshest of environments, left behind a profound and enduring impact that continues to shape our art, science, religion, and systems of governance. Their stories are more than just fragments of history. They are timeless lessons in resilience, ingenuity, and the power of human creativity. In the realm of art, the bold colors, intricate designs, and symbolic motifs of desert civilizations have influenced countless generations. Egyptian hieroglyphs and Mesopotamian cylinder seals laid the groundwork for written communication, while the architectural marvels of Petra and the pyramids of Giza set standards for engineering and aesthetics that still inspire architects today. These artistic achievements weren't just about beauty, They were expressions of identity, spirituality, and the human desire to leave a mark on the world. Science and innovation also owe a great debt to these ancient societies. The Babylonians' advancements in mathematics, including their base 60 number system, still shape how we measure time and angles. Egyptian medical texts, with their detailed observations and treatments, laid the foundation for modern healthcare. Even the Nabataeans' mastery of water conservation offers valuable lessons for today's engineers grappling with climate change. These contributions remind us that the pursuit of knowledge is a thread connecting humanity across millennia. Religion, too, bears the imprint of desert empires. The spiritual practices and mythologies of ancient Egypt and Mesopotamia have influenced countless belief systems, from the concept of the afterlife to the idea of divine justice. Their temples, rituals, and sacred texts were not just acts of devotion, they were ways of understanding the universe and humanity's place within it. This spiritual legacy continues to resonate, offering insights into the timeless questions of existence and meaning. In governance, the legal codes and administrative systems of desert civilizations set early standards for justice and order. The Code of Hammurabi, with its emphasis on fairness and accountability, remains a cornerstone of legal thought. Egyptian and Nabataean leaders demonstrated how effective resource management and diplomacy could sustain thriving societies in challenging environments. Their ability to balance power with responsibility offers enduring lessons for modern leaders. Yet, the legacy of desert empires is not just about their achievements, it's about their stories. Tales of resilience, ingenuity, and the pursuit of meaning continue to captivate and inspire us. They remind us that even in the face of overwhelming odds, human creativity and determination can create something extraordinary. These stories are not just relics of the past, they are sources of wisdom, guiding us as we navigate the challenges of our own time. As we reflect on their enduring impact, it's clear that preserving their history and heritage is more important than ever. By protecting the artifacts, sites, and traditions of these civilizations, we honor their contributions and ensure that their lessons are not lost to time. Their legacy is a reminder that history is not just about what has been, it's about what can be. As we prepare to conclude this journey through the hidden chronicles of desert empires, let's take a moment to consider how their legacy continues to shape our world. From the art we admire to the science we rely on, from the beliefs we hold to the systems we build, their influence is everywhere. Their story is our story, a testament to the enduring power of human creativity, resilience, and the quest for meaning. And it's in their footsteps that we continue to walk, carrying their legacy forward into the future. As we reach the end of our journey through the hidden chronicles of desert empires, it's impossible not to marvel at the extraordinary resilience and ingenuity of these ancient civilizations. From the towering pyramids of Egypt to the rock-carved splendor of Petra, from the intricate water systems of the Nabataeans to the celestial precision of Mesopotamian astronomy, these societies didn't just survive in the harshest of environments. They thrived, leaving behind a legacy of innovation and creativity that continues to inspire us today. What stands out most is their ability to see possibility where others saw only impossibility. They turned barren deserts into thriving hubs of culture and commerce, harnessed the stars to guide their lives, and built monuments that defy time itself. Their stories remind us that human ingenuity knows no bounds, even in the face of overwhelming challenges. Whether it was the Garamantes tapping into hidden aquifers or the Egyptians aligning their temples with the heavens, these civilizations teach us that the key to survival lies in adaptability, resourcefulness, and an unwavering belief in the power of innovation. But beyond their technological and architectural achievements, the desert empires offer us something even more profound, a glimpse into the human spirit. Their art, rituals, and myths reveal a deep connection to the world around them, a recognition of the sacred in the mundane, the divine in the everyday. They remind us that history is not just about grand achievements. It's about the people who lived, loved, and dreamed in the shadows of those achievements. It's about the farmers who tended their fields, the artisans who crafted beauty from raw materials, and the storytellers who kept their cultures alive through the power of words. As we reflect on their legacy, it's worth considering how the lessons of the past can guide us in the present. In a world grappling with climate change, resource scarcity, and social challenges, the resilience and creativity of these ancient civilizations offer timeless insights. They show us that even in the most difficult circumstances, there is always a way forward, if we're willing to think differently, work together, and draw inspiration from the wisdom of those who came before us. To close, let's take a moment to reflect on a thought from the ancient Egyptian Book of the Dead. To speak the name of the dead is to make them live again. In uncovering the stories of these desert empires, we've not only spoken their names but breathed new life into their legacies. And in doing so, we've found a source of inspiration, a reminder that the echoes of the past can guide us as we shape the future. Now, we'd love to hear from you. What did you find most fascinating about these ancient civilizations? Are there lessons from their stories that resonate with you? Share your thoughts in the comments below. We're excited to continue this conversation with you. And if you've enjoyed this journey into the mysteries of history, don't forget to subscribe and join us for more explorations into the hidden chronicles of our world. Until next time, keep exploring, keep wondering, and keep uncovering the story.